Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome back to the Omaha Outlook. My name's Luke Meyer, and I'm here with Duncan Helms. So today we're going to be continuing our series of previewing the top 25 teams and such. So I have three teams I'm going to cover today. I'm going to be covering Dallas Baptist at 20, Mississippi State at 18, and I'll be covering Vanderbilt at 16. And Duncan, which teams are you going to be running through?
I will be covering number 19 Texas and number 17 Oklahoma State. A couple of
All
orange
right,
teams
sounds
for us
good.
today.
For sure. And one thing that we had discussed afterwards and such, obviously, we're fairly still new to the YouTube and making a lot of different productions and such. So on these videos, we're going to try to ensure that at the bottom portion will be timestamps for each
Yes.
individual team of how long we go over them and such. So just in case you're really only want to hear about maybe one or two teams and such, you can just head down into the bar and should show you which section you should be looking for.
Yep. And I'll make sure to put
Um,
that in the description as well so we have our timestamps there. So if you really only want to hear about Texas, for example, just jump straight to it. So
yeah, for sure.
you will miss all the Southern Miss content though. So we love talking
Yeah,
about
yeah,
them.
we love talking about Southern Miss.
We
100%.
do.
Hattiesburg, it's a beautiful city. No,
It's a
really the
beautiful city.
best. So, anyways, the kind of gist of the series, for those who hadn't seen the first episode, is it's not so much really as a prediction series about predicting people's records and such. We're mostly just going through the teams, giving our general thoughts about them, maybe giving some players to watch, anything like that. So we'll go ahead and get right on into it.
Yep.
So first team I'm going to be covering here is Dallas Baptist, ranked at number 20. So kind of going through a little bit of what they had last season. So last year they finished 45 and 15 overall with a 17 and 7 record versus Conference USA. So obviously they did very well in conference and such. A little bit about their coach Dan Hefner. He's been there for quite a long time now and such. He has 652 wins to 326 career losses. So obviously he's doing quite well in that department. And just going back a little bit over the past few years for their postseason history, they have 13 regionals in their school's history, but their active streak is actually 10 as of now. So
That's
that's really one
nuts.
thing that I want to hit, especially with Dallas Baptist. For a lot of mid-major programs, and I was reading this on D1 Baseball America, it seems to be general consensus that uh, Dallas Baptist is one of the best mid-major programs as far as consistency and success and such. They've really seem to just always find a way to get into the NCAA tournament. Always seem to make some noise. They always seem to have a solid squad and such. And from everything I've been reading, it looks like this season's going to be no different. So to kind of cap off their review from last season, they actually ended up losing in the Tucson regional to GCU, our good friends we talked about a good amount last time.
Beat Arizona.
And so, but with that being said, they got a lot of talent returning to this, and I really like what they got going that way. So, in fact, actually, they're returning five players who were actually named within the All Conference USA's teams and such. So, for instance, we got Chayton Cross over at first base, got Michael DeTallo at third base, Luke Hefner at shortstop, Tom Pull at DH, and Luke Petit. Sorry,
I
some of these
think
names
Pettit.
have
It's
Pettit. I
Andy
figured it was
Pettit,
Pettit and such,
I
but
think.
it's some of these names are
Baseball
there's
names,
no
man.
John Smiths on this list.
No.
Anyway, so he's a Conference USA Freshman of the Year. So they've got a lot of different players returning and such.
Yeah.
The main thing is that I was going to get into general gist with this team, though, is that it seems like the top half of their order, the 1 through 4, they got some absolute just dynamite baseball players. I mean, they got some serious skill up front and such. Mostly it's going to be kind of the second half of their order that I'm a little bit more concerned with, but we'll talk about it a little bit more. So,
Yeah, and I mean
some key contributors, I kind of, what
you're talking about like four
you said?
four seniors, mostly juniors. There's only one sophomore in the lineup. Like this is
Oh,
an
yeah.
experienced team, and I mean, you can't see the numbers if you're not following along on D1 baseball or anything, but it's nuts.
Oh,
It's
for sure.
eye popping. I'm sure you saw me look over. And just are you kidding me? Pretty
Oh,
sure
yeah.
Tom Poole is not going to be batting sixth, but crazy.
Oh, yeah. It's really kind of an insane thing, but we'll kind of dig into it a little bit more here in a second. So the first thing I kind of want to touch base about is who there's going to be the Friday guy. So it looks like a James Ellwanger. He's had a little bit of an injury-prone season last year. He only pitched about 17 innings. He had a little bit of difficulty and such. But when this guy can stay healthy, if he can stay healthy, he's going to be a serious threat from there. So just a little bit about his frame. I mean, he's like 6'5", so he's absolutely just
Oh
a
yeah,
giant of a man and such. But I think the most impressive thing here is that he's got 4 pitches. He's got a slider, a curveball, a changeup, so pretty standard set there. But his fastball touches about 100 miles an hour.
as a
And
starter,
so
Jeez,
Yeah, I'm
Louise.
not sure if he's going to be throwing that as a starter and such, but just knowing that he has that kind of velo
Yeah,
in his bag is, I'm sure that has
it's
a lot
pretty
of Dallas
nice.
Baptist fans excited.
It's
Yeah, for
pretty
sure.
nice.
So yeah, I think if he can stay healthy, if he can really get out there, he started about 8 games last season here, so I don't know if he can manage to stay on the bump, he's going to be a great Friday guy from them. The rest of their pitching staff, I mean, it looks like they just have some solid pitchers and so. I mean, there's obviously the Luke Pettit we talked about. He's going to be probably in the mix for their weekend rotation. I imagine at worst the Sunday guy and such. And so yeah, they just have a few different guys. Overall, just a solid bullpen, solid rotation. Nothing too terribly crazy. It's going to jump off the page, but
Mm,
I don't think that they're bad enough to lose them a lot of games. But I don't think they're also good enough to maybe win them a ton of games. But
yeah.
who knows? Maybe they can prove me wrong on that end. So really getting back more into the kind of the top of their lineup that I was really hinting at a lot earlier. So the first guy I want to talk about here is Grant J. That's going to be their catcher. And just to kind of give you a slash line from the previous season, I'll pull
It's
it up
pretty
right
sweet.
here. It's quite well here.
It's pretty
So
sweet.
just he's batting 300. He has a 414 on base percentage. He's slugging 653. And he led the team last year with 21 home runs. And so
1067
obviously that's
OPS.
what'd you say?
1067 OPS.
Oh
Pretty
yeah.
good.
So obviously, getting this level of production at the plate from a catcher
Oh yeah.
is quite significant. From everything I read on there, from everything I was going back, it seems like he's a very solid leader on the team. He's a solid defender. So not only is he going to be a serviceable defensive catcher, he's also putting up just eye-popping numbers at the plates and such. So
Yeah.
one of the only really knocks I can see against him here is that he has a pretty high strikeout rate. So obviously, you see a lot of times with guys like this with a lot amount of power, we see a lot of strikeouts, but it's kind of a weird situation. He's batting 300, but he has a 31% chance of striking out there. So it kind of seems like either that ball is popping off his bat or he's headed back to the dugout pretty much. It's
Yeah.
kind of a peculiar thing. He's draws a decent amount of walks, but not really enough to make up, obviously, for that K percentage from there.
Yeah.
Even
And
with that high K percentage. Oh, what
just
was it?
glancing over, I mean, 7 stolen bases from a catcher. Like that's
Oh yeah, I didn't even see that.
that's
Yeah,
impressive.
that's oh for sure. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, this looks like a
that's
pretty
what it seems
fast
like.
team in general, but 7 stolen bases is nice from the catcher position.
He's really can kind of do it all for them, and I think that's why it was a great get to have him back for sure. And looking at his WRC plus, he had about 141 WRC plus, and for like we said, obviously Duncan and I are big into stats and advanced analytics and such, and so some of the stats and such that we're going to be mentioning, you may or may not be familiar with. So we'll do our best to kind of highlight what they mean, just in case you're not familiar with them. And if we do mention a stat that you're not overly familiar with, you can always let us know, and we'd be happy to explain it to
Yes.
you. But WRC plus, it functions pretty much in a way. It's just a way to measure the value of a batter, and so think of it as 100 is always average, and anything above or below that, it shows you how much better. So, for instance, if a guy's batting 110 with WRC plus, that means he's 10% better than league average. If he's 90, then all of a sudden he's 90% or 10% worse than league average.
Yeah.
So when we say a guy's going 141 WRC plus, that means he's 41% better than league average. So, like I said, it seems like all the numbers here are really kind of backing up that this guy is just an elite presence at the plate, especially at the catcher position. It's you don't find guys like this all throughout the country, and so I think they're pretty excited to have him back. And the last real big stat that I want to hit on here that really kind of popped my eye out here. So when we say fly ball percentage, that's a percentage of his hits that result, obviously, in fly balls and such. So he's a big fly ball hitter for sure. So he's about 53% of his hits result in a fly ball, while only 5.2% result in a pop up. So obviously, only 5.2% of his at bats are wound up popping up and such. But the
Mm-hmm.
main thing that I was really looking at is not only is this guy hitting 53% fly balls, he's a 29.6 home run to fly ball percentage. So basically, what the home run to fly ball percentage means is that of the 53% of his hits that result in a fly ball, 29.6 go yard.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this guy, he's hitting tons of fly balls. He's taking a ton yard. And I think that you can see that with the 21 homers and such. So,
Yeah.
overall,
He's
I think it's
crushing the ball anytime he gets a hold of it.
100.
And I mean, it goes back to the point you made last week: swing big, miss big. I mean, Love homers. They just seem to come at the cost of strikeouts. I mean, you look back at the other guys we talked about, Brooks Bryant, especially the other catcher, Troy's catcher, talking, double-digit home run guy, but 60-something strikeouts and 200-something plate appearances. And it's just, in my head, it's tough to make that work, but clearly, it works. You said his WRC plus was like 120 something, right?
141.
Oh Lord, I heard that wrong.
Yeah. No, so he's quite significant, and so
Yeah,
and I think that goes
that's pretty
back.
good.
We're entering the. I know the MLB's been on it for quite a while, and obviously it's impacted the college game and such. But three true outcome ball, obviously it's for those of you who don't know, it's strikeouts, walks, and home runs and such. Those are the three big trends in the MLB as of right now, and you see a lot of these guys and I guess the collegiate level and high school level and so on and so forth are really modeling their game after the three true outcomes because that's what's considered desirable right now. And so I think we'll explore a lot more of these guys throughout these entire rankings and throughout the entire season.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I've definitely
so
got a couple to talk about today.
oh, for sure. So let me pull up the next guy I want to talk about here. So Michael DeTallo over here at third base, he's got pretty solid power on him. Last year he had 14 doubles and 8 homers, so not really enough homers to make you just jump off the page or anything like that, but enough to be a solid contributor for sure. Another big thing about him is that he's a decently low strikeout guy. He's only striking out about 14% of the time. So for someone who provides such a solid amount of power, his strikeout percentage isn't too bad. His slash line for last year, he was batting 345. His on base is 395, and he's slugging 517. And his OPS total is about 912. So, like I said, he's a pretty positive presence at the plate. Obviously, 345, batting there with pretty decent power, pretty moderate power, and such is fairly impressive.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've noticed, I've caught myself looking at a guy that has like you said, like a 900 something OPS, and just being like, that's pretty good. Because you look at guys like, I have a guy later I'm going to talk about that like easily crack, like a few guys that crack 1,000 OPS. We already talked about one today. It's crazy in college baseball how good some of these hitters are for their competition level. Like this guy's going out and playing against, again, real deal D1 competition and crushing it. And you're just like,
sure.
yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's. I think it's too. One of the things is that he's almost like a victim of I guess comparison in this because he's got just
the rest
so
of
many
his lineup
guys
is nuts
on his team
Yeah,
that you're just like, oh, we got 345, whatever. It's pretty crazy.
yeah,
And
it's nuts.
so here we go. And one thing here though, so going back to WRC plus, he is a 116 WRC plus, so 16% better than the average batter. So obviously very positive presence at the plate and such. One of the only things is I think he only had about 45 games played here, and so I believe. Let me double check that before I tell you a fib.
I mean, that was his sophomore season. That would make some sense if there was like an older player that potentially moved out and he just took over. But it makes a little bit of sense. I don't have that in front of me, but
Oh, see, no, no, that's a fib. I told you that's what I was going to say. He played 59. I was going to say,
oh, there
no way
you
he
go.
got this
Yeah,
many
that's
plate
pretty much the whole
appearances.
season.
I was like, there's no shot. Okay, so I have that.
Okay.
That was a mistype on my end. There we go.
Oh, yeah, he played almost all their games.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was like, there's no shot this guy's in 256 plate appearances in 45 games.
That'd be pretty nuts.
Um,
That's a lot of offense.
Yeah. And one of the last guys I want to talk about here is Chayton Cross. And once again, he's just tearing the cover off the ball. He's over there at first base with them. He has about 16 home runs last year, so he's got some serious pop in his bat. His slash line was 358, batting average 415, OBP 626 slugging, so about well over 1,000 OPS.
Yep.
And such. Obviously, with 16 home runs, I mean, this guy's a serious threat at the plate. Strikeout percentage is decently high and such, but like I said, he's still a positive contributor. He's right there with Grant J with 141 WRC plus, and he's pretty balanced. I mean, he's not going to go out there and hit, I guess, a ton of line drives, a kind of ton of fly balls and such like that. He's overall just going to be another one of the tough outs in this top part of the lineup.
What's his BABIP,
But
if I may ask?
his BABIP, by all means, my friend, 426.
Whew, 420.
Yeah.
Jeez. So for those who don't know, like you're saying about stats, BABIP is just batting average on balls in play. So it doesn't take into account walks, strikeouts, anything like that, foul balls. when you hit the ball in play, how often are you getting on base? You generally you'd want it to be a little higher than your actual batting average. Obviously, you're taking things out that detract from batting average, so you want it to be higher. I mean, his is what 60 points higher. That's insane. Like 410 BABIP when he's even if he's putting it on the ground. Kind of like, again what we were talking about last time. You hit the ball on the ground hard in the right spot. It's college baseball. Anything can happen. So
Mhm.
that's I like that. I like that a lot.
Now, really, the last guy I want to talk about here. This guy, when we say that some other guys are a victim of comparison on this team, this is one of the big reasons why.
Yeah.
Goes by the name of Tom Poole. Just I'm just gonna read out some of his basic stats from there, just because I mean this guy is absolutely insane. He's got a 350 batting average, 485 OPP, 700 slugging, almost a 1200 OPS, 13 home runs. I mean, getting that at the DH position, just those basic stats alone, right there. I mean, 485 OBP. That is just that's eye popping to say the
He
least.
he gets on base almost half the time he comes to the plate.
You can flip a
Some
coin.
slight.
You flip a coin, call heads or tails. It's borderline what Tom Poole has to get on base.
Crazy.
It's like,
It's crazy.
and to have that with that level of power,
Oh yeah.
and I mean that's unbelievable. I don't know. I'm just obviously Duncan and I, like we're stats guys. So we love seeing OBP. That's one of our big
Oh
things that
yeah.
we like to see. And so to see a 485 OBP with that is just
Yeah.
absolutely otherworldly.
How many
I even
triples?
have that. I had that 485 OBP with 6 exclamation points. I just counted them up on my
Yeah.
notes. Um,
Oh yeah. How many triples real quick? If you have
Let
it
me
still pulled up.
see. So he had two triples.
Okay. Because you look at it, it's 13 doubles, 13 homers, and 700 slugging. I mean, a few less plate appearances than the other guys, but like the production at that level,
Oh yeah, I mean
I
that's
I when we said Dallas Baptist, I was thinking, oh yeah, they'll be pretty good. I did not think they were this kind of bats in that lineup. I
oh,
I was I
100%.
was not familiar with your game, Dallas Baptist.
No, I think no. I owe them an apology too. I knew that they were a solid baseball club.
Hmm.
Obviously, like we said, it's our first real season covering or really paying attention to a lot of baseball across the country and such. So we're kind of learning a lot about these different teams and presenting it to you. So whenever I saw a lot of these stuff, I mean, it's unbelievable. So I think that's one of the most exciting parts I have about this whole thing is learning about all these different guys around the country that all of a sudden on a random Saturday morning, come the middle of I don't know April, I would just go right past the Dallas Baptist game. Now I'm gonna have to turn it on 100%. I mean,
Oh,
there's
for
just no
sure.
way around it when you got guys like this who are just out there absolutely balling out. And I mean, that's what D1 baseball here they have. He's a player of the year type talent. I mean,
Yeah.
and I don't think that if he continues on that pace, I don't think you can deny that. This is like if he even puts up 90% of what he did last year. I mean, this is that is some serious talent, and especially for Dallas Baptist to be able to retain this guy in the, I guess, in the age of the transfers and stuff like that. I mean, that's quite
Yeah.
impressive. It kind of really shows you what kind of culture they have built up at this program. It shows you just how well that coach is running the program. It's pretty unbelievable to say the least.
Yeah. This is
I'll
a guy
keep
that you'd
all
expect to go to like a LSU or something. Just be like, ah,
oh
yeah,
100%.
just take all the money and go there, but stay
Go to
home.
LSU, go to the draft, go to all these different things.
Yeah.
It's so easy in the modern. It's never been easier. The players have never had more options, and for this to be like this guy to put up these type of numbers and say, you know what, I'm going to stay at Dallas Baptist. It's a mid-major program, but I believe what they're going got or they got going there. I believe in their coaches. I believe in my guys here because, like I said, they're returning a ton of guys. So it's not just like Tom Poole is coming back to keep his numbers up. They're returning a significant amount of production.
Yep.
It's obviously, in my opinion, a great thing for the game. I think the
Oh
transfer portal
yes,
is good and
absolutely.
such like that, but I absolutely love to also see guys who get brought in stick around and really help promote our sport because
Yep.
in our sport it's so easy to leave. It's so easy to go to the MLB. It's so easy to do this, that, and the other. It's great to see guys like this sticking around and especially at a program like this. I will certainly make a note to watch some Dallas Baptist games
Oh
this
yeah,
year because of
we've
guys like
gotta
this.
gotta do like a live watch sometime. Just Dallas
Oh yeah, that'll
Baptist
be
on like a
fantastic.
random pick up one of their midweeks and just watch them crush somebody. That'd be so much fun.
Oh yeah. And really just to kind of highlight some other stats of just how elite this Tom Poole guy is. So he's a 24.5% K percentage, so he strikes out 24.5% of the time, but he's also drawing walks 16% of the time. So even though he has a decently high K percentage, he's drawing a ton of walks. He's creating a ton of value, and that's where we get right back to that 485 OBP. Is that this guy is just managing to find a way to get on base, and when he does, he's probably not going for one. He's probably going for two, even three, as we saw earlier. So
Yeah.
it's pretty impressive. And his WRC plus is 170, and I believe that's not a typo. That is 170. So
That
70%
is.
better than the league average batter.
You can
It's
take like freshman year, like Dylan Cup, for example, to go to a Mississippi State guy that we'll talk about in a minute.
mm,
But like freshman year Dylan Cup's bat and an average player, and put them together in terms of just all their production, and then you have him.
it's preposterous. There's no other word
Yeah.
for it. Yeah, so
Insane.
he's hitting a ton of fly balls. The guy, I mean, he's in pretty balanced outside of that, but it's like he's hitting almost 50% fly balls. So just like his OBP, you got a 50-50 chance if he hits that ball, it's being a fly ball. Um, and he's just tearing the cover off. And I am beyond pumped to really get out there and see these guys play.
No, for sure.
Now, after we sat there and hyped up all these different guys, one thing, the biggest question that I'm going to have for this squad is what can the bottom of their lineup do?
Mm.
Because those four are absolutely fantastic. But you got some guys, and obviously some of these are fairly limited sample size, but you got guys batting in the low 200s outside of them.
Yeah.
If this team wants to make a deep run, if this team wants to take it to the next level, not only just continue their regional streak, but really get to supers and so on and so forth, the second half of this lineup is going to have to step up. There's no way around it.
Yeah.
You're not going to make it to Omaha with two or three guys batting. I'm looking here, 216, looking 232, 182, 241. Obviously, like I said, some of those are fairly small sample size and limited plate appearances. Some of them don't even have 100. But these guys are going to be asked to step up, and they're going to have to. You're not going to be able to make it no matter how good your top four are. If you got guys batting around the Mendoza line, which is about 200, it's going to be almost impossible for you to make that depth of it. So that's my biggest question mark for this team. Like I said, their pitching appears to be solid from everything we can see. They got a transfer in, Micah Buckham from LSU. He's looking to be a solid guy in the bullpen, maybe. And I think he was supposed to be maybe a midweek starter, maybe a bullpen guy from what I'm hearing, whatever. But like we said, it all is going to come down to the bottom half of their order and seeing how well they can do.
Yeah. You got to get
And I
productions from
believe
your other guys. Like
100%.
four or five players like that are incredible. That take that any day, but you got to have production from the rest of the team. You can't just have five players playing baseball. It doesn't work. And I mean, maybe
Yeah.
like I don't know. It's another thing. I'm sure we've talked about how annoying it is to get stats and for some of these guys, but fielding stats in college baseball are a pain. Um, for whatever reason, by the way, I've been looking this up. Baseball Reference has it for all like the summer leagues, but nothing for the actual like SEC
Yeah.
Big 12. Like
Hmm.
what? But
Yeah.
I would assume some of those guys, like I saw, there's center fielder and shortstop that are a bit lower. Like those are defensive positions. You want those guys to be out there, go out there and play, but you still have to get production. Like you can't just have them be complete negatives, especially in today's game, like you were talking about with the amount of offensive production that we get from a lot of these teams. It's you got to have it 1 through 9.
For sure. I will say this too. Out of all some of their new guys that got coming in, they got a guy named Mason Sweeney, transfer in from Alabama. He could be one guy. He's seems like he could step up. From what I'm reading, I've read this on a few different places. That he's going to be should be solid. He looks fairly impressive thus far. Maybe he can get in there, maybe with an enhanced role from there, because last year he only had 77 plate appearances. If he can find a way to figure it out and even just contribute a solid amount, that would
Yeah,
help out this lineup tremendously.
for sure.
And so to kind of round out what I have to say about Dallas Baptist, really the last thing I just wanted to talk about some of their notable opponents because, like I said, playing
Oh,
Conference USA,
sure.
so they're going to play a lot of conference games, but a few games that I have circled for them. So they're going to be playing against Oklahoma State, LSU, Oklahoma, and TCU.
Oh
Those
Lord.
are all teams that we will talk about, we have talked about,
Yeah.
or may have just missed the top 25. So this is going to be a squad that's going to get a chance to prove itself and really have a chance to bolster up its resume versus some of the top tier teams in the sport. So I think that those are going to have to be must wins, especially if they want to be able to say, hey, look, we're one of the big dogs. We're one of the most consistently successful teams in the country. We want a shot at hosting a super or regional. Not sorry, super's a bit more.
Yeah.
A regional.
Little.
I'm thinking two steps ahead, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Hey.
So if they want to, this is gonna have to be. They're gonna have to win some of those games for sure.
For sure.
And I think that's pretty much all I have to say about Dallas Baptist. Anything you want to add, Duncan?
Um, all I'm gonna say is the Ben Abelt Tom Poole matchup is gonna go insane when they play TCU. That's gonna be really fun to watch. That was
Oh yeah.
my Chris Sale type guy. I'm pretty sure in terms of his
Mm-hmm.
release. Not actually. Was it him or was it another guy? It might have been him. But nah, like any of those games, they have to go out and win those big out of conference games.
For sure.
They have to. Like you want to be a host for a regional, you got to go out and prove yourself against the best, and that's the best.
Oh, for
And
sure. And I think
yeah,
if they put together a similar record as last year, and let's say they beat two or three of those teams or whatever, I mean that's a pretty decent shot to host
oh
a
yeah,
regional. I think that would be together a pretty overall decent resume.
oh yeah,
Like I said, they're not playing a bunch of scrubs. They have
no,
many chances to prove themselves against the rest of this some of the best teams in the sport.
yeah. And like we were saying about Sun Belt last week, Conference USA, it's college baseball. There's a lot of players out there in a lot of smaller conferences, and I'm not gonna say that they're obviously SEC Big 12 that kind of level, but it's baseball. Anyone can win. You've just got to go out there and prove yourself. And especially if you've got a team that's as stacked as Dallas Baptist from a lineup perspective, you got to go out there and prove yourself against the quote unquote lesser competition compared to like the TCU's Oklahoma State that they're going to be playing later in the year.
Mm-hmm. So that's pretty much all I have there.
All right. So now I'm going to start talking about number 19, Texas. It's their first year in the SEC. Get to start talking about SEC baseball now, and I'm excited. But in last year, they were 36-24. And they went 20-10 in the Big 12, which was good enough for third. In the Big 12 tournament, they actually had a pretty disappointing time coming in as a 3 seed. They went 0-2 and just immediately lost out. They lost to Texas Tech, who was the 10 seed, and then they lost to Cincy, who I believe was the 5 seed. So pretty disappointing postseason for Texas. Do not believe they made the tourney. I believe their last time was 20. Oh my goodness, I have this written somewhere. They did. They made a regional last year, but they did not make the. They did not go to Omaha. They have been to 4 regionals in a row. They ended up losing. Well, game 1 they beat Louisiana Lafayette. Then they lost to Texas A&M. Then they lost to Louisiana Lafayette. So in total postseason last year, they went 1-4. It's pretty disappointing for a program as big as Texas. And maybe so disappointing. That's why they fired their coach and hired Texas A&M coach. Forgive me if I pronounce this wrong. Jim Schlossnagle, I believe is his name. Another great baseball name. But I just want to I want to read a quote real quick. For those of you that don't know, Texas A&M was a 1 seed last year. They made it. They lost in the final, right? They lost to like Tennessee,
Yeah,
I think.
if I'm not mistaken.
I literally
Let's
have
see,
it
I
pulled
think
up.
both of us are drawing a blank right here.
They lost to
You put me
Tennessee
on the
in the
spot.
championship game. They lost to Tennessee in the series 2-1. And a direct quote from Texas's new coach, formerly Texas A&M's coach, in an interview directly preceding one of the College World Series games against Tennessee, I believe. So right before their season ended. He said, quote, "I left my family to be the coach at Texas A&M. I took the Texas A&M job to never take another job again. That hasn't changed in my mind. That's unfair to talk about something like that." And then for those of you that know, or for those of you that don't know, he ended up taking the job at Texas the day after they lost the final game of their season. So, yeah, that's a storyline to look at as Texas moves to the SEC, and now we'll see a good bit of Texas A&M. And we're going to talk about Texas A&M quite a bit later. And yeah, he left
Oh, yeah.
I think D1 baseball has them as at least a top 3 team. I think they might be number 1.
Yeah, no, they are
They're
fairly high up there.
elite. Yeah, they're an elite team. He left an elite
I
team. Go ahead.
and that's why I just checked Texas's schedule. The 25th, 26th, 27th, I will be on an official do not contact list. That's going to be
They're
their
playing.
series that they play.
Oh, that's a good one.
I'm going to be canceling everything for that to
Yes,
watch that
please.
series. There's just no way around that. Yeah, that is.
Yeah, that's going to be a really
be
fun one. That's going to be a very, very fun series.
I
Yeah.
wish that this was being played in College Station.
Oh
It's
my
being played over in Austin.
goodness.
Can you believe?
They're going to play. Do they play twice this season, or is it just once?
I'm only seeing them one time. Let me double check.
That's tough.
Dude,
I would
know,
love
I'm
to
sick
see that
to my
in College
stomach.
Station. That'd be incredible.
I was hoping that they would do a midweeker like we do versus Ole Miss or
Yes,
something.
that should be.
That would have been. Oh, dude, just
that
like
would go
College
so
Station.
hard. Oh man.
Man.
For those of you that aren't necessarily as up on the SEC, Texas A&M fans are insane. Texas A&M fans, when it comes to anything, are nuts. They're so much fun. It's so much fun to have fans like that in your league. And obviously with the SEC, you have a lot of teams like that. But Texas A&M fans are crazy, and that team is out for revenge against their former coach. So.
Oh, 100%. And I looked it up.
Ugh.
Less than 2 hour drive away from College Station, Austin.
Ooh, they're traveling.
Yeah,
Aggies
Aggies will be well represented there. The Aggies will be well represented. I can promise that. That is a game I'm going to have to watch no matter what.
Oh yeah, but back to Texas's history. 70 regional appearances, like I said, 4 in a row. 41 College World Series trips. Oh yeah, I did say they lost to Texas A&M in the 24 regional, which was, I believe, in College Station. And then in 22, the last time Texas made Omaha, if we look over here, they lost to Notre Dame to fall to the losers bracket. And then guess who they lost to? Jim Schlossnagle and Texas A&M. So they ended up hiring the guy that has just smoked them in recent years. Hey, it's a bold strategy. We'll see if it works out.
You know what this almost reminds me of, and this will be kind of an NBA reference. It's almost, to me, it seems, obviously on a much grander scale, but Al Horford to the Sixers. Al Horford was giving Embiid problems, and he just could not beat him.
They're like, please, we gotta have you.
Yeah, and so they just got him, and they were like, just come on in. It's like,
and then Al Horford's still like 40 and playing better than Embiid right now because Embiid's not even playing. But hey, we're not here to talk about basketball. That's another one of mine and Luke's passions is NBA basketball and college basketball to a bit of a lesser degree. But either way,
it's not breaking our heart. Yeah.
Oh my goodness! Don't remind me. Did you hear that? Like a few of our players are sick.
They got the cooties. They got the ice.
Something like that. Either way, Texas. We've had our Southern Miss for the day. So some guys to watch for Texas. This is a talented team. It's not necessarily as eye-popping of numbers as Dallas Baptist. It's hard to do that. It's pretty good. And when I say pretty good, I'm talking 3 guys over 1,000 OPS. Most of the lineup at least over 700-800. Like, this is a super talented team. The guy I want to talk about first is Jalen Flores. He's their shortstop. He continues the trend of elite shortstops we've talked about. Give me 2 seconds to pull up his stats here. He slashed last year. As a freshman, he DH'd. He didn't play much. Actually, 123 plate appearances. Not crazy, but not great stats. He broke out as a sophomore. 340, 408, 656. Good enough for a 1064 OPS in 278 plate appearances. 18 homers, 22 doubles. Incredible. From the shortstop position, and what I've seen.
Oh, you said he was a shortstop.
Shortstop with a big arm.
Oh gosh, man.
Yeah, Jalen Flores. This is a guy to keep an eye on when we're talking about the draft next year. Like, and you know, I mean, obviously, as we go on this year, this kid's nuts. Talk about his advanced batting statistics. I mean, 372 BABIP, pretty good. He, like I said, in the 100 or so plate appearances as a freshman, he struck out 30% of the time, and also walked 12% of the time. So wasn't really putting the ball in play as much. As a sophomore, he brought that K percentage down to 20% and brought the walk percentage down as well to 7%. So he started putting the ball in play a lot more, and it worked. His WRC plus went from 58 as a freshman, DHing mostly, to 143.
Oh my God, that's literally almost an average player jump.
That's literally almost
insane.
took an average player and added it to himself. Like, this dude made huge strides. And if you look at his batted ball profile, you can kind of see it. The ground balls went down, ground balls went up, line drives went down a little bit, fastballs went up about 3%. Pop-ups, cut in half. Dropped 7%. Love that. I mean,
That's a
7%.
Yeah,
He popped up almost
quite a lot.
15% of the time last year, or in his freshman year. Popped up only 8% of the time. I mean, it's still a little high, but this is a dude that also hits 54% of his hits for fly balls, and 17.5% of those go for homers. Like,
And
yeah.
one thing I want to hit on too with these guys too is and I just looked on to I went through stats and such. Even in conference play, so obviously D1 you can go there from regular just everybody you play, so that includes your midweek stuff like that. A lot of times what I like to do is I like to filter onto conference play, and I have a little bit more of those stats later for some of the other ones. I like to do that for some of the bigger ones, such as like obviously they were in the Big 12 last year and such. So, anyways, this guy's batting 328 in conference. I mean, he's 328 in conference,
967
and,
OPS in conference play.
yeah, and he's still a well above league average batter.
Oh yeah, 125
even
WRC
in
plus.
conference play. So it's one of those guys is that
He can play.
not only is he getting it done versus just the midweeks, where a lot of guys they can really get out and go and stuff. Because that's a lot of guys. Is that sometimes you see numbers that pop off the page, and all of a sudden you open up their conference play, and you're like, this guy's okay.
Yeah.
Once he playing guys of his own skill level, so
Yeah. I will say 12 of his homers came against non-conference opponents. Now, I don't know what Texas's non-conference schedule was last year. So maybe when they were playing Texas A&M, maybe he hit like 3 homers. Who knows? But, yeah, no, the kid is a great bat. He's also a good defender. Like, you can't just stick someone out at shortstop. If you have someone that you're just going to stick out somewhere, it's not going to be at shortstop. This kid's got to be able to play on defense, and he can. It just continues the trend, like I said, of just elite shortstops. It's kind of like the classic baseball thing of like, oh, when you're in high school, it's like your best player is just your shortstop. Like, you just throw him out there. That's your best player. Go ahead. It's happening in like college and the MLB now. It's not just like, oh yeah, we need an elite defender. We do, but now we have so much talent that we have elite defenders that have elite bats. You gotta have that to be a successful team. I'm not gonna say gotta. I mean, like I said, Dallas Baptist shortstop looks a lot more like a just true defender, like a 276 average. I think, yeah, that's not terrible, but like when you can have a guy like Jalen Flores that is just elite with the bat. I mean, you know who I'm picking all day. It's not hard. But moving on from Mr. Flores, we're going to talk about Texas's right fielder. Another guy who actually DH for them a little bit in 23, Max Bellew. I believe that's how you say his name, Bellew.
yeah.
He actually, one thing I wanted to talk about with him real quick, he's a right fielder. But if we go over here to his baseball reference page, he pitched in Summer League. He didn't pitch much. He only pitched 3 innings. 2 hits, 1 run, 3 walks, 2 strikeouts. So, like, not great, but he can pitch. It's interesting to me that a guy that has a 148 WRC plus can go out and pitch. In case I said that a little too fast, 148 WRC plus as a sophomore. Yeah, he's pretty good. He's pretty good at the whole batting thing. Also, the fact that he can get out there and pitch speaks to his arm in the outfield a little bit. I don't have like velos for his arm, but you're getting out there and pitching. You're not throwing in the 80s. You're probably throwing mid 90s, and yeah, incredible. But another guy who, similar to Flores, had a rough 23, and then just completely broke out in 24. He slashed 329, 423, 667, good for 1090 OPS. Like I said, 148 WRC plus. Yeah, he's really good. He also hit 18 homers. If we scroll over here to conference play, 11 of those were in conference play, so kind of the inverse to Flores. Oh yeah,
Mm,
conference play in 134 play appearances, 384, 470, 750 for a 1220 OPS and a 173 WRC plus
in conference play.
in conference play.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
this
I
kid
saw that
crushed
and
the
I
Big
literally
12.
was like, I thought I misread it at first. I was reading Jalen Flores, who's listed right below him on the thing.
Yep.
I thought I skimmed it over and I thought I misread it because I was like, that can't
Yeah,
be right.
no,
That doesn't
he's
seem right.
crazy. Going back to his batted ball profile real quick. His ground balls dropped by 20%. Like he figured out how to get the ball in the air. Not too much though. 19% line drives, 43% fly balls, and only 8% pop ups. Actually, exactly the same percentage as Jalen Flores, 7.9. If you look over there at his home runs per fly ball, 25% of his fly balls go for homers.
Mm.
I forget who it was, but there was another guy we talked about last time. He did a similar thing. He doesn't hit too many fly balls, but when he does, they go. And he also had a very high line drive percentage. Talking around 20% line drives, that's a lot. And line drives are just really good contact. And it looks like with his homers, he's just getting up that little bit more, and it's going. And I mean, like I said, 18 homers overall, 15 doubles, 11 homers in conference play, and a 173 WRC plus in conference play against the Big
No, it's
12.
preposterous.
That's
Nasty work.
ridiculous. And like I said, he's got a big arm in the outfield. He can pitch. I mean, okay, yeah, he walked 3 guys. I'm not going to put him out there on Friday night to start for me. But if he could pick up like an inning or two in a midweek, that's just fun. Like, I'm not expecting
Oh
this
yeah.
guy to go out there and be a two-way player. This is just fun. Like, this
Oh
is just
yeah.
a fun thing that he can do. And the last guy before I get to transfers that I'm going to talk about is first baseman Kimball Schusler. Schusler? I don't know. I'm trying. Interestingly enough, he transferred to Texas from Texas A&M in 21 or 22. So
Oh really?
another Texas A&M Texas connection. Don't know what's going on
You think
over
he got
there.
the you think he got the head coach call and once he saw head coach walking, he's like,
It
yeah.
was actually he went before. He went before the coach. This
No,
is
that's
the
what I'm
coach's
saying. He's
first
like
year.
yeah.
No.
I was just
Oh,
oh really?
yeah,
Wait.
yeah. No, he transferred in 22. This is the coach's first year, so he's been there for 2 years now. And
No,
he brought.
I'm just imagining that one of the things like I like to I guess this head canon I made. So this
Mhm.
guy probably got away from this coach. He wanted to transfer away, and
Yeah.
then all of a sudden the head coach follows. It's like you
What's
got
up,
to be
kid?
kidding me.
You
Yeah, like
gotta
oh
be,
man.
dude. That is
Who knows?
potentially what happened.
It's-
Who knows? We can't
for
speak to
legal
that.
reasons, before we get slander on it,
Yeah,
that's just head
before
canon. That's
Texas
something I
fans were like,
entirely made
"Fuck
up. Yeah,
you."
that was not a dismay on either of their characters.
Yeah,
I'm sure they're
no,
wonderful people.
but yeah, another 1,000 OPS slash line, 343, 420, 601 for a 1021 OPS, 10 homers, 14 doubles, a 136 WRC plus at first base. One thing I like about this kid is he does not strike out much, only 14% to 11% walks. So he almost walks as much as he strikes out, 1.25 strikeout to walk ratio. Yeah, this is a guy that when you have a guy like Flores and Bellew that you can get on in front of 420 OPS, that's perfect. I mean, he's probably batting.
Mm.
His speed's not fantastic. He's a first baseman. He's never stolen a base in his career. He's been caught once though, but speed's not going to be his strong suit. But if you can have a guy, maybe batting second, just get him on in front of probably Bellew. Goodness, like
Oh, for sure.
it's just wonderful. He actually projects in second. I'm gonna give myself a little credit. I was not looking at the lineup. Maybe it was just in my head, but yeah, no, he's. I don't know, man. Maybe I just know ball. In all
Jamie and
seriousness,
Noble.
in all seriousness, though, this kid's just like I can't just say he's a solid bat because he's really good. But when you look at like Flores and Bellew, he's a little below them, but still a guy with 1,000 OPS. This is the third
It's
guy on that team. Like,
it, the Dallas Baptist thing. It's that you sit there
yeah,
once you read those two other guys' numbers, you're like, ah, whatever.
yeah.
It's if this isn't a guy that 95% of college baseball programs would not absolutely love to
Oh
have.
my goodness, yeah. Like
It's one of those
this
things
kid
that
could probably
he.
go to the draft and go like
Oh yeah.
decently high. Like, I don't actually have. Oh yeah, I do have No, I don't. I thought I had something pulled up. I don't. It's later. But yeah, I mean, batted ball profile, nothing crazy. 44% ground balls, 16% line drives, 40% fly balls, 7% pop ups. 17.5% of his fly balls go for homers. So that's another thing where, like, when he hits it up, he's hitting it hard.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a really good bat to have in your lineup and get on in front of your guys. Oh, there's two things that I wanted to, two other notes I did have about him. In summer ball, he played catcher. Didn't appear to have a great arm. Allowed quite a few stolen bases without many caught stealing, so he probably will stick at first base. From what I've seen, though, he's not like a bad glove, just maybe not the biggest arm, especially behind the plate.
Mm-hmm.
But I was reading his page on the Texas baseball page. He had 3 game-winning or tying at bats.
Really? Oh, so
Yeah,
this guy's
clutch.
okay.
So another like
That's
top of the lineup guy that can get on, make something happen for you. Hey, it's just interesting little note that he seems to be a pretty clutch hitter. Next Reggie Jackson, probably not, but but he's pretty good.
Are you calling him Mr. June? Mr. June? Are you calling
Dude,
that right here, right
oh,
now?
dude, we need to have like a pick for like Mr. June, like at the end of
Yeah,
the season. That'd
Mr.
be
June,
pretty
Mr.
sick.
Omaha.
Yeah, Mr. Omaha. But
What are you doing?
and some transfers I'm gonna talk about. I'm starting the field. I believe the only transfer projected into the starting lineup, unless I'm missing something, Easton Winfield, not listed as a transfer in that lineup. Looked him up. He is from UL Monroe. At UL Monroe, he was really good as a freshman. This is a freshman bat that I'm talking. A freshman bat. 332, 414, 546 for a 960 OPS. 8 doubles, 3 triples, 10 homers, 18 stolen bases with only 3 caught stealings.
Oh man, so
Yeah,
he's doing it all. He's doing it
he's
all.
doing it all. He's out there playing corner outfield. He'll be out there. That's another thing I wanted to talk about with Texas. Their corner outfield is really good. Max Bellew and Easton Winfield project to be very, very good across from each other in the outfield. Again, another thing I saw with Winfield, I looked him up a little bit and saw some of his summer league stuff. Doesn't appear to be the best arm or best defender necessarily. He's got the speed to be a good defender, it seems like, with 18 stolen bases. Maybe not the biggest arm, but that's another thing that can develop potentially. But I'd say his WRC plus is 126, pretty good.
Especially for freshmen and such like
Oh
that.
my goodness, yes.
Yeah.
He also only struck out 19% of the time, walked 10% of the time in 240 plate appearances. Again, with a freshman, you'd expect strikeouts to go down unless he starts hitting for way more power. And either way, I'll take it. I will say I do expect him to hit a lot less ground balls as a sophomore. He hit 50% ground balls. It appears he's not trying to get the ball up in the air too much. 50% ground balls, 20% line drives, 29% fly balls, only 4% pop-ups. 22% of his fly balls went for homers. So, again, another guy, when he's getting it up, it's going. Maybe you'd like to see a few less ground balls, but he had a 380.
It sounds like, though, one thing too is that it sounds like a decent exit velo given the high home run to fly ball percentage.
Yep.
So I'm wondering if it would not maybe like a Dakota Jordan situation, because if you
True,
actually look at his batted ball profile, it's very similar to what you just listed.
Really?
But whenever he hit it,
he's hitting hard.
He's smoking.
Yeah.
I think actually I have that one pulled up.
So while you pull that up,
here.
his BABIP is 384. So when he hits it on the ground, it appears he's hitting it very hard. I mean, I'd like to see him with the pop he's got. I'd like to see him get up just a tad, just get it off the ground a little more. Even if you just convert this to line drives, dude, impressive, very impressive season as a freshman
for sure.
But if you have DJ's stats pulled
up,
I
have DJ. It's almost identical. It's almost
really
identical. Like batted ball profile. 48% ground ball, 20% line drive, 31% fly ball with the 22% home run fly ball. So I don't necessarily think that ground balls are terrible and such like that, as long as you're hitting with a lot of velo. But I agree with your point entirely that if he needs to get that number down a little, or not needs to, but it would be ideal to
just a
get
little.
It down.
Just convert a few of those, just like a couple degrees
get
up.
That launch angle up.
But,
and they have great batting coaches over there at Texas, and I'm sure formerly Texas A&M. So I'm sure that
Oh man.
they'll figure out a way to add a few degrees to that launch angle.
Oh yeah,
So
just
I have
just a
no doubt
tad.
of that.
I'm curious now because DJ has a pretty interesting swing path. I'm
Mhm.
wondering if Winfield's is similar because it's
Which
very like
it drives
it's
me absolutely
interesting.
crazy. We don't have
It's
access to information like that for the sport.
I know we should totally
D1
have that.
baseball, if you can hear me,
D1 baseball,
grant
please.
us access.
But so other two transfers I'm gonna talk about. There's a lot of transfers in the pen and in the starting rotation. First guy I'm gonna talk about is Jared Spencer from Indiana State. Not exactly eye popping numbers. 53 innings and 9 starts with 2 saves and 18 appearances. Batting average against him 216, so pretty dang good. Indiana State, don't necessarily know what their competition's like, but I'm pretty sure I've heard of a few other guys from there, so I'm not going to sit here and talk crap about him. He strikes out nearly 30% of the batters he faces, 29.5, so that's
Really,
impressive.
that
Walks
is
about
very impressive.
13%, 76.4 left on base. Like, I might have undersold his numbers a little bit. He is good. He has a 143 whip, which is a bit higher than what I would like to see for a Friday starter, especially for a program like Texas and the SEC. You've got to have an elite guy out there.
Hmm.
Again, this is just another guy that's moving from the pen and started, some games, not for a ton of length, coming out there. And like you said last time, it might be a Tigers thing, which for those of you who don't know, the Detroit Tigers, besides their Cy Young ace, Tarek Skubal, they have a guy go out there and pitch like 2-3 innings to start the game. It's
Hmm.
not like a classic starter situation that I like to see where, you have a guy go 6-7 innings and then you hand it off straight to the bullpen. Which obviously, in a perfect world, you have Will Bednar and Landon Sims, and you can just hand the ball straight to the closer and
Yeah,
just
no,
have a great day.
100%. You know,
But it doesn't always go like that, obviously. But yeah, I mean, this is a guy who I think can be pretty good for them. He's he gives up 23% of his hits that he gives up are line drives, which is interesting to me because he doesn't give up a ton of homers. Like
really.
31% fly balls, 7% of those go for homers, which he actually cut down on homers a ton, nearly 10%. But I'm just curious about the line drives. Like, I don't know what that is. If, maybe he's pitching at like down in the zone a lot and people are able to just take it for a line drive. I don't know what it is. But yeah, he has mid 90s fastball, slider working with it. I mean, this could be a dude that I look back on later in the season and go, I don't know why I doubted him. He's obviously a very good Friday starter. Like he has numbers that project well if there's just like a couple things there. If it just works over longer periods in the SEC, it's hard to project that. But interesting guy. And then talk a little bit about just literally the other three transfers. Ruger Riojas is a very interesting guy. 26 appearances, 7 saves, 3.25 ERA, 75. That's another thing I didn't talk about with Spencer. 72 strikeouts to 33 walks. That's pretty dang good.
Hmm.
Riojas 75 strikeouts to 18
That's
walks.
insane.
That's
Yeah.
nuts. That's closer stuff. But he went 10-3 in 26 appearances with 7 saves. So this projects to be your back end bullpen guy that's going to come
Hmm.
in and destroy all hope. Like, just
Oh,
going to
for
come
sure.
in and just shut down the opposing
Do you
team.
happen to have his left on base percentage available?
I can get it for you in 2 seconds. Not 2 seconds, but more
I'm
like 10.
interested to see if it's like the case of what we said that he may have a lower on base left on base percentage just because he doesn't let
He
guys
doesn't
on
let
base,
people
or
on.
maybe even if they get on base, he's just leaving them stranded.
63. 63%.
Okay, so like it's
Yeah.
not as high as a lot of the other ones, but like we said, it's probably just because
He
this
just
guy
doesn't
doesn't
let
let a lot
people
of people
on.
get on
Um,
base. So if they
yeah.
scores lets up 1 or 2 runs, then
Yeah, that's
you know.
fine. But he was at UTSA last year. State of Texas apparently loves to transfer to Texas. Shocker. Um, but yeah, his his strikeouts minus walks percentage. So you just take obviously your strikeout percentage minus your walks, and you see the rest of the time like how much are you actually striking people out. 20% because he only allows 6% walks and 26% strikeouts. Pretty good. Uh, 1-2-4 whip. Like this guy, if they could stretch this out over longer periods, This is another thing of like, can a closer work as a starter? Who knows? We might find out at some point for Texas. They might need this guy to come in and pitch because if I'm going to be completely honest, I'm not too impressed by the other two transfers. Cade Bing from McLennan Community College. Community college numbers aren't great. I think I had something about him. Yes, I do. 3.98 ERA in 8 starts and 43 innings. I didn't see anything about injuries. No. Oh, wow. In high school, he batted 391 with 31 stolen bases, then had a 16-4 pitching record with a .86 ERA. High school. High school. It's interesting to me that a kid that has that elite of high school numbers went to a community college. I'm curious.
That's actually very interesting. I did not
makes
think
me.
about.
It's curious. But, oh, sorry. I read off his conference numbers a second ago with 8 starts. Overall numbers, 11 starts, 9-2 with a 3.33 ERA. Pretty dang good.
I mean, it's pretty good. It's certainly serviceable. It'll be interesting to see how it translates up to a higher level because obviously I'm not very familiar with McLennan Community College or even really where that's at and such like that. So
he's from Texas.
Maybe because it makes
he's
sense.
also
Maybe
a lefty.
Texas,
So
Texas JUCO
yeah
could be a very competitive scene
it's
as
Texas.
we see in a lot of states. So I mean it could be one of those things that he was already playing at a fairly high level of competition, and obviously he will be elevating up to a higher amount, but maybe we're underselling how good his competition was.
Yeah, that's entirely possible. Like I said, his high school numbers are incredible. So, maybe he comes up and it's just like, I just needed a season of community college ball, and now I'm going to look like an incredible player. Who knows?
Maybe he just thought that was his chance to go out there and be like, all right, I'm
actually get some time.
Rock.
Yeah. Luke Harrison, who was there last year, I'm not talking about him much because he only pitched 10 2/3 and walked a ton of people. In 13 appearances, 13 walks, and 10 2/3. So
he must have had a great summer league or something. I mean,
yeah,
to be projected as a Saturday guy.
Yeah,
he must have had a good summer league.
Interesting thing there, I bring him up. You may see that their 1 through 3 are all lefties. So you look back.
I did not notice that.
Yeah. So Riojas is a righty. He could come out and pitch. But if you want to talk about a guy who has actually started games in the SEC, Grayson Saunier, transfer from Ole Miss. Funny story, I looked it up because I was like, we probably played him. He had his best game of the year against us, Mississippi State, I mean. We won, but he has best game of the year against us. In conference play, actually, I don't know if you can see it, but this is the national championship
it's almost
shirt.
Friday we can wear. And
it's really close.
For those of you, for both of the people watching, just in case you somehow clicked onto this without knowing us, big Mississippi State guys, we will be talking about them in depth
here
for quite a while. So if you don't have 2 hours to spare, you can go ahead and skip it. Timestamps in the video bar below.
In conference play in 3 appearances. By the way, like we mentioned last week, we do play Ole Miss in a midweek, and it does not count as a conference game, so it did not affect his conference ERA because that's when he pitched against us. 15.3 ERA in 3 appearances.
Really?
In 10 innings, he let up 22 hits and 18 runs, and only struck out 5. And this is the 4th best option and potentially best righty that's not Ruger Riojas.
I was going to say, they might bump him up in that rotation just because he's a righty if it needs to be.
2.40 whip in conference play. Like, I'm not hating because he played for Ole Miss. I'm not hating. This kid might have something that I just don't know about. I'm just unimpressed by the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
He's hit 12 guys in his college career. Only 3 last year. Brought that down. But in non-conference play, like, he was decent enough to bring his ERA down to 5.64. Down to 5.64 is not the best sentence, but it's just he allowed an OPS of nearly 800 in all play.
And at first, I was sitting there thinking, I was like, maybe he's a victim of the ERA for relievers kind of thing from there. But I mean, 11 appearances and 10 games started. I mean, he started for a good chunk of these. I mean, and on average, he's not even making it through 5 innings from there. I mean, that's
a tough thing to have that be your best righty starter with SEC experience.
Mm-hmm.
So that's tough for Texas. Um, as was the theme. Oh, actually, yeah, okay, this works. As was the theme last week with I think all of the teams I talked about and at least one of the teams Luke talked about. Pitching, 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 pitching.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care how good your lineup is if your pitching doesn't work. Because maybe you could score, I mean, average like 7-8 runs a game. That's a ton. If your pitching sucks, that's not going to win you so many games. If you, especially when you get into conference play, you get into the postseason, and you could see it fell apart for Texas in the postseason last year. They went 1-4 in postseason play, and their one win was Louisiana Lafayette, who then beat them, I think, like 12-4. Like, it's just tough. And I mean, my note here, the SEC is very, very tough, and their offense looks really potent. It looks really good, but it just might not be enough. The pitching might not be good enough. But
And
okay, go ahead.
and one thing is too to kind of add on to your point about the SEC conference, it's tough. Texas, without saying, it's a very historic baseball program.
Yes, absolutely.
Obviously, what is it? 41 College World Series appearances. Is that what
And
it was?
70 regionals, yeah.
It's 70. Not only that, so not only the historic one, they're new. They're the new kids on the block.
Yep.
They're fans, very passionate. They can also be very loud.
Yep.
Everyone is going to be bringing their best against Texas.
Oh,
100%. I have no doubt in my mind, and that's not a slight against them. That's not me saying like, oh, I hate Texas, horns down, all this. That is just the fact of the situation.
Yep.
Is that people understand how good this program is. People understand how big this program is, and such. People are going to be bringing their A game versus them, and so I think especially whenever you have questionable pitching, like Duncan has been telling us here, that I think that could really be exposed. I think we might see some
Yeah.
guys having career games versus Texas just
Oh,
because
yeah.
they've had so much. And I know that there's been, like, for instance, between Mississippi State and Texas, to bring up Mississippi State for the 500th time before you even get to them, there's definitely a little bit of the fireworks flare. Like, fireworks flew last time we played. I mean, we didn't like each other.
No.
And I have no reason to believe that we're going to be lovey-dovey next time we see each other.
Nope.
I imagine that it's going to be similar feelings on both ends of the ball. So
Yeah.
it's going to be one of those things that everyone's going to want a piece of. And that's what really scared me when I was looking at this lineup is just or the rotation, my apologies, is that everyone's going to want a piece of Texas. There's just no way around it. I have a hard time imagining that there's going to be a lot of people who just see Texas and be like, oh, that's another game on the schedule.
No, yeah. And I mean, you think about the Texas brand in general, like, not a ton of people like Texas. If you're not a Texas fan, you don't necessarily love Texas. And it's like you said, they're going to be the new kids on the block. Every SEC team that has been here before them is going to want to go out and prove that they are better. And just go out and say, hey, I don't care how much money you have. I don't care that, we wanted you in the SEC, so we brought you over. We're going to beat you, and we're going to make sure you know that we're better than you. And
for sure. It's
like we were saying with the Texas A&M matchup, that's going to be so fun to watch. That's going to be incredible. But
between the SEC thing and the coach, I mean that's
oh my goodness,
don't
yeah.
contact me on those dates.
Yeah,
but dude, we might. Who knows? Like you said, we might need to do a live watch party of that game.
Yeah, that'd be great. But
that would be a great game.
So my last note about Texas, I was harping on their pitching this entire time. One of the biggest things that Schlossnagle did is bring over Texas A&M's pitching coach, Max. I'm assuming it's Weiner. I don't know if it's Weiner. I'm assuming it's Weiner, Max Weiner, which is an incredible name.
I choose to live in the reality where it's
Max Weiner. But he was only at Texas A&M for the 24 season. He was the Mariners pitching coordinator before. Think about the Mariners staff if you know them. George Kirby, Logan Gilbert, Luis Castillo, Brian Wu, elite pitchers. This dude led Texas A&M's pitching staff to an incredible year. I'm not going to go through all Texas A&M's pitching stats from last year. I'm sure we'll get to some of them because they lost some of those guys to the draft. This dude led Texas A&M's pitching staff to a great year. He's considered he got Forbes 30 under 30. this could be a huge get for Texas. I'm not gonna say could be. It is a huge get for Texas. This is one of the best young pitching coaches in baseball. If anyone can get the most out of that pitching staff, it might be him. So, like I was saying about Spencer, the numbers project decently well. Maybe halfway through the season, I'm gonna look at it and go, "Wow, Jared Spencer's incredible. How did I not see this?" Maybe he's just gonna get a ton out of these guys that don't really have it, or to show me at least yet. Maybe he's going to get a ton out of him. That's the X factor, I think, for them is their pitching coach, which is interesting because it's not even a player. It's their coach. But it's also not even the head coach. But, you bring over a winning tradition with Schlossnagle, who's won a ton at Texas A&M, just in the College World Series. Like, hey, Max Weiner could be incredible for this team. And hey, we'll see how that goes.
And that's one of the things too. So what I have here is that I actually have, and this will be pertinent for our next conversation, is that so I looked up the 2023 SEC team by ERA. So Texas A&M was about a 5.66 ERA
last year.
With 2023.
Oh, 23. Okay, sorry.
2024, they lowered it down to 4.72. So within just that year, I'm not sure how much pitching staff turnover there was. I'm obviously not as literate with that. So, but lowered it almost by an entire run, and that's not a transformation we see overnight. That's one of those things that's a pretty big deal, and that kind of shows you maybe how good this was, and especially going back to the Mariners pitching coordinator. The Mariners, if you don't watch MLB, I don't watch much MLB. Dude. They have even I know a simpleton like me knows that they have significant pitching strength. They can develop pitchers,
and they're all young. Besides Castillo, they're all young. It's nuts.
Yeah,
I'm sure. I think I forgot a guy besides Wu, Kirby, Gilbert. George Kirby, by the way, if you don't watch MLB baseball, watch a George Kirby start if you like guys that do not walk people ever. He never walks anybody. It is incredible. And I'm not talking about he'll come out for 5-6 innings, pitch like a decent game and just not walk somebody. No, he's sitting teams down. He's just never walking them. He also he pulled out a knuckleball at one point as a tribute. And it was one of the best knuckleballs I've ever seen. And he could just do that. It's nuts. But yeah, while we move on to the next team, I'm gonna pull up the Mariners rotation real quick.
Okay. You said we can move on to the next team?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the pitcher I forgot because I know I forgot something.
Well, I'll go and get
Bryce Miller. And Emerson Hancock. Yeah. Logan Gilbert, Luis Castillo, George Kirby, Bryce Miller, Brian Wu, Emerson Hancock. And that guy was their pitching.
Great tree to come out of.
That's nuts. And they're all young besides Castillo. Sorry. Go right ahead.
So, anyways, now we are on to number 18, the Mississippi State Bulldogs. As we've said before, as you can see, you're tremendous big Mississippi State fans. I have my national championship cowbell featuring no other podcast stickers on there. That's it.
I have my ring, my Ron Polk statue.
We'll be talking about this for quite a while. Mississippi State, let's get on into it. This team, I think one of the biggest things I can think of right off the rip for this team, and this one won't be nearly as, I guess, quote-unquote scripted as the other was, just because notes aren't terribly necessary for a team that we watch every week. One of the biggest things is that I believe we lost somewhere north of 70%, plus 70+% of our innings pitched to the draft. So that's one of the reasons why I said it would be pertinent for the ERA information. So 2023, Mississippi State had the league worst ERA in the SEC. So just to show you, a 7.01 ERA. So we are letting up 7 runs over the course of 9 innings. We go out, we hire Justin Parker, I believe he's South Carolina's pitching coach.
Yep.
With that one season with fairly minimal turnover, they went from dead last in the SEC 7 to 4.68 third in the league with almost no pitching staff changeover. The only one I can really think of is Cal Steven. That played a fairly significant role that we didn't have before. Yeah. That was the first one that came off the top of my head. I'm sure there's one where Cam Schulke came in a ton of appearances.
Hey, that's my guy. I love Cam Schulke. Yeah, man, he's so fun to watch. For those of you that don't know, Cam Schulke throws from 3 arm slots and throws 1 or 2 pitches from both, and it's hilarious. He's also an athlete. Charlie Condon he got him to ground out to the pitch. Cam Schulke. Love
No,
it.
that was fantastic. That was an electric. That was
That
electric.
was electric.
I
The ump
remember
still
through my
did screw us.
huge
I'm still mad.
sweating when he came up to the plate.
Yeah. For those of you that don't
So
know as well, Charlie Condon was the best player in college baseball last year, and it was not close. Like,
yeah,
he was incredible.
if for some reason you woke up from a coma immediately in July and you had no watched a lick of college baseball, just know that a guy who's formerly a walk-on had one of the best seasons I've seen.
Legitimately
in a
one of
long
the
time.
greatest seasons ever.
It's insane.
Yeah.
So, anyways, going back to Mississippi State, one of the big things I can think of right off the rip is that we lost, and I'm going to keep saying we lost a significant amount of our pitching staff. And so that's going to be one of the big question marks that I have for the squad is that can we go in there and really manage it? So this bullpen, this rotation that we have is extremely talented. We've got a bunch of young guys who are very talented. We got highly ranked, a lot of transfers on in, things like that. That just tremendous talent oozing from it.
Oh yeah. Also, just real quick, sorry, before we get a little deeper into state, while I have this pulled up, we've been talking about elite guys cracking like the 1200s in OPS. Charlie Condon. I'm gonna read this. This is just slash line. Batting average, 433. On base, 556. Slugging, 1009. OPS of 1565. 37 home runs, 20 doubles, 57 walks, and only 41 strikeouts.
And to really emphasize, one of the things, slugging 1,000.
OPS of 1,000. We were just talking about OPS of 1,000 being really good. He slugged it.
So, slugging, plate appearance,
yes,
slugging is like total bases divided by plate appearance. So that's not just saying for every at bat he comes up. Every time he walked up to the plate, he was averaging a single.
Yeah,
just from power at his bat alone.
Averaging.
Preposterous.
100 hits in 231. 100 hits in 231 ABs.
No, if you woke up from a coma, missed all of last season,
Charlie Condon, where'd he go? I'm so sorry. He went to the Rockies.
Dude, that high altitude, man.
He's gonna kill the ball. He was the number 3 overall pick. Somehow people went above him. Was it like Travis Bazzana went above him or something?
Yeah.
Either way, I'm done talking about Charlie Condon now. Georgia, fuck it.
Anyways, so Mississippi State, tremendously talented rotation. I think that these particular pitchers, they have a really high chance of going out there and just making a lot of noise and such. But they just don't have the experience, and that's what I look up and down this rotation. Is the lack of experience is really what's scaring me here.
Yeah, and if you look at it from an outside perspective, you'll look and go, oh, redshirt junior, senior. Pico's barely pitched. Carson Ligon has not pitched much. Stone Simmons has been out for 2 straight seasons, and Jacob Pruitt's a transfer, isn't he? So can't say too much about him, but like Pico Cohen has been on that team since I was like a sophomore, and I've been graduated for a year. And
that's the thing is that we just got some guys on there that are just whatever. So to kind of keep harping on it. So I think D1 baseball projected these rotations right. If I had to guess our 1, 2, 3 rotations, I believe that this is correct. So we have Pico Khan over. He's gonna be a Friday guy. Now, for those of you who don't know, Pico Khan, he's not a pitcher that's going to overwhelm you with his fastball. He's not going to go out there and throw a heater. He's not going to blow by you 100 miles an hour. What he's going to do is he's going to go out there and he's going to put a low 90s, super low 90s, high 80s fastball, but he's going to line it up perfectly. And right when you think you have him figured out, he's going to pull the string on a changeup at 78 miles an hour, 77 miles an hour, and he's just going to make you look silly at that plate. He put up probably the best performance of his career towards the tail end of our season. May even been towards in the regionals. Is that he just went out there and he absolutely dealt. So he didn't play in many innings, so he only has 29 innings, but a 3.38 ERA.
And he gave us some hope towards the end of the year that looking forward, he can be what we thought he would be a couple years ago.
Oh, for sure.
Also, just real quick,
Mhm.
The two biggest guys we lost, Durangelo Sanja and Cal Steven. Uh, for those of you who don't know, again, if you just woke up in what you say like July and didn't watch college baseball, and I mean even if you keep up with baseball at all, you've probably seen Lou. He's a switch pitcher. He throws mid to upper 90s from the right side with a disgusting slider, and mid 90s from the left side, low to mid 90s from the left side with another. I think he has a curve from the left. Um, he was he was just drafted in the first round to guess who, the
Yeah.
Mariners, 15th overall. Um, we're talking about a dude that went out and started 16 games, pitched 90 innings, and pitched to a 1-1 WHIP, which I love. That is elite. 3.67 ERA, like 113 strikeouts and 90 and two thirds. Elite. Like this kid, I will never forget watching this kid pitch. I remember his
Oh
first
yeah.
year. He came in. And he was like wow, this guy's pretty impressive. Then he comes out, just almost for like we have like the gimmick pitcher that pitches with both hands, and then he turns out to be just one of the best pitchers in college baseball. He was
Oh yeah.
incredible. And then Cal Steven, who went in the second round to the Blue Jays, former Purdue guy, 3.28 ERA, 10 strikeouts per nine, 5 strikeouts per walk, a 101 whip. Lou was not our Friday guy. Our first
Yeah,
round
I
pick was
think that
not
was
our Friday guy. Cal Steven was our Friday guy.
yeah.
It's tough
That
to
was
replace that.
it's incredibly difficult to replace that, and not even just on the front end of the rotation of losing all those guys, like all three of our starters there. We're also losing the tail end of our rotation,
Yep.
like guys like Tyler Davis is gone,
Yeah.
Nate Dome is gone,
Oh, the
Tyson
Dominator.
Harden, who turned into a solid reliever, he's
Yeah.
out of here. Cam Schulte. I mean,
Cam Schuelke's still around,
is he
right?
still around?
I thought he was. You
Maybe.
said him
Wait, did I?
earlier. I thought he was.
Whoa, 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 whoa! Hold up.
Hold up.
Did I have too much
Also, just real quick
information?
while he looks that up, between Steven and Sanja, we lost 186 and two thirds innings of
No.
3 ERA, one whip pitching.
Let me double check. I have the
It's
baseball
incredible.
walk up
How
songs
many
listed here.
strikeouts combined between them? 107 for Steven and 113. So 220 strikeouts between them in 186 and two thirds. You don't just go out and replace that easily. It,
Yeah, I think Shulky's gone, man. I'm not seeing
really,
it
I
on the
thought he was
website.
still around for some reason.
Yeah,
Whatever.
I was going to say you have any questions. So,
Dang it. That sucks. I
um,
love Cam Schuelke. If you haven't seen
yeah,
Cam Schuelke pitch, look him up. It's Cam and then Schuelke.
yeah.
It's so
That's
fun
right.
to watch. He throws a frisbee. It is so fun. Either way.
Um, yeah. So, anyways, and just to really kind of highlight what level of pitching coach we're talking about, Justin Parker here, Durangelo Sanja,
Oh, yeah, okay.
his first year, he went in there. He had an 8 ERA,
Yeah.
right? Next year, 3.67 first round draft pick. I mean, that's the kind of
Yeah.
stuff that obviously now credit to Lou because he's very
Oh my
talented
goodness,
or
yes.
low, um, immensely talented and such like that. But that's the kind of difference that this pitching coach can make. So I think that he has the potential to get in here, but it's really hard to teach experience. So
Yep.
keeping it going here, Carson Ligon, he was the Miami Friday guy. He
Yeah.
was the guy from Miami. He transferred here and he took on a lesser role and such. He stuck around. And from everything I'm hearing a lot of positive things. I know Lamonis from time to time can kind of overhype his players and such, but I'm hoping that he really shows up for the sake of the program because we're going to
Oh
need
my
him.
goodness,
We're going to
yeah.
need every bit of him. He can throw some high velo and such. And then the last guy right here is Jacob Pruitt. And last year he had obviously a 3 ERA across 41 innings, struck out a bunch of guys and such. And I think that this rotation is correct. I don't
Yeah.
foresee this changing unless something drastic happens prior to SEC play. Um, and on the back end of this bullpen, one of the ones I really kind of want to point out here is a guy. Let me pull him. He's number 29, Nate Williams. So this guy, he's actually been on the roster for a few years now. He's been on here since 2023, but he hasn't played a single inning because he's just been going through injury issues. This guy was a really highly recruited guy out of out of
I couldn't tell you.
junior college. Sorry, I started reading other stuff. My screen threw me off. Really highly recruited guy. This is someone that has a very good chance to be the back end of the bullpen. I was reading a good amount of the scrimmage stuff. I didn't actually personally watch him. I've been out there to a ton of the scrimmages, um, but I'd seen a chance to get this guy pitch. From what I heard, granted, small sample size, 1-2 innings of work, absolutely overpowering stuff. Guys couldn't hit him. He was untouchable. And I think that if he can get something similar like that, he could carve out a very solid role in the back of this bullpen if he can manage to stay healthy.
Yeah.
And so he'll be a player to watch. I'm excited to see him. Hopefully, if he can stay healthy,
Yeah.
he can be the guy who's highly recruited out of JUCO and such. So
Yeah.
it'll be interesting for sure.
So, real quick, there are a ton of sophomores in this lineup. Again, it's another thing. You can't teach experience. You also can't teach talent. Um, you talk about Highfill, Reeves, right? Not Reeves, Reese, Cup, Chance, O'Brien, Stevens. Obviously, Hunter Hines is very good. Chance I listed in there with the other really young guys, but like also, but another guy that you've probably seen if you exist on baseball internet is Bryce Chance. You've probably seen a clip of him when he was in high school, hitting an absolute nuke. He's fun to watch. He's a fun player, but elite defender. Like go out there and give it his all every inning, and it was solid bat. But O'Brien and Stevens are two guys I want to talk about because they're both two-way guys. Now I don't know how much they're going to be two-way guys. Nolan Stevens pitched in some midweeks for us. I don't think O'Brien pitched much. But
No, actually, Nolan Stevens was a solid batter for our reliever, like our bullpen.
yeah.
For the
Towards
first
towards
portion.
the, yeah, he actually did show up. Like he was good. So he's a guy
Remember
that
that
might
LSU
come
game?
out of the bullpen for us. That'd be fun to watch. Again, going back to the Charlie Condon Cam Schulke game, we had to put in our entire backup lineup, which included O'Brien and Stevens, putting Cal Steven in right field. But I've never been more mad at a baseball game. But
No, that was outrageous. Outrageous
but
at best.
you look up and down the lineup, and it is almost the opposite of like a Dallas Baptist, Texas. That you look at those teams and it's like, oh yeah, it's a like returning talent. Like you see the elite numbers now. This is a team that, in my perfect world, can be the like up and coming, can be the, oh yeah, you looked at their numbers last year, not very good. Like when I look at Jalen Flores' numbers, I'm like, oh yeah, that's not that impressive as a freshman. And then as a sophomore, he comes out and just destroys people. I'm praying that this team can be that. Now, is there any guarantee that all these guys will all click? Dylan Cup's bat will show up. Dylan Cup's defense is there. He's incredible at shortstop. Will his bat show up? Maybe. He's got all the tools to be a great bat. He's a big, athletic guy. Like, he's got the swing. Like, he just has to make it happen. And I'm a Ross Highfield truther. Luke can speak to this. I watched that kid play as a freshman. I was like, that is our catcher. Because, oh my goodness, forget who was our catcher in the Natty. Oh my God.
Logan Tanner.
Yeah, Lotan. You talk about a guy behind the plate, nobody was stealing. It was like having JT Realmuto in the college game. Like, dude, Lotan, nobody ran on him. When they did, it was a mistake. And it was really fun to watch. He was a solid bat, too. Like, Lotan was incredible. You come off winning a Natty, you lose that kind of catcher, and you're like, what do we do? And I watched Ross Heifel play as a freshman. I was like, it's Lotan. Like,
Dude, he's a rocket. And
oh my
last
goodness.
year, one of the things is that he had a big injury issue last year. In the offseason, he hurt himself. That's why if you go look at his stats right now, it's abysmal. He's
14
batting
plate
100.
appearances.
Yeah, he 14 plate appearances, 8 DH, and then all of a sudden he said he's going to redshirt and save that year of eligibility.
Which I think was the right decision. Like, allow
100%.
a guy with those kind of tools. This kid was incredibly highly recruited. He is, again, you talk about the physical tools. He has it. He has the massive arm behind the plate. He's also not a half-back glove back there either. Like, he's not just like, oh yeah, I've got a big arm, I can play catcher. No, he can frame pitches, he can block the ball, like he can do everything you need a catcher to do, and then he can go to the plate, and this could be a double-digit home run guy if he can get the strikeouts right. But I love Ross Heifel. I think he could be very good. And again, I look at this lineup and I just go, there's so much talent in this lineup. He just got to put it together. And if you forgive me for one more minute to keep yapping on, I love Hunter Hines. Don't get me wrong. I love Big Country. I love him. Look at his numbers as a junior last year. I know he hit 16 homers. He didn't even slug 500, hitting 16 homers and 9 doubles. Struck out 74 times. It felt like he was striking out. I'm going to pull up his advanced numbers just because I'm curious. Because
pull up his advanced numbers.
Yeah,
also,
go ahead.
If you noticed too, he actually was way better in conference play. He put up better numbers.
Yeah, that's true.
It seemed like he had to go. But the one thing is with Hunter Hines is I feel like he's got to improve on this year is hitting with runners in scoring position.
Oh my!
I feel
goodness.
as though every single time that there was a runner in scoring position, we had an opportunity to score. Hunter Hines would go up there and get caught looking silly, swinging at a pitch he shouldn't have. I mean, it just seemed it got to a very frustrating point.
Yeah, you talk about a lack of discipline at the plate, and it's Hunter Hines.
It's almost like he got to himself too much.
Yeah.
He got to himself too much and just immediately went out. And it's weird. He made so many other strides in his game. Like, so for instance, he became, because the previous year he was not a great defensive first baseman.
No,
he was bad. He turned into a very solid defensive first baseman. He was making a lot of plays that a lot of people didn't expect him to make. Shoot, I didn't expect him to make. In fact, he walked out there on opening day and he lost so much weight and such. I couldn't even recognize him at first. I literally had to double check and make sure I was the right guy. So he has the discipline to do things like getting himself in shape and such like that. I think the mentality at the plate has got to change at some point, though. Especially with runners in scoring position, he's got to do something different. He cannot keep taking that approach. He's looking to take that ball 550 feet every single time he swings, and you can't do that.
Yeah.
And I think that was one of the big differences between him and Dakota Jordan, is that DJ understood a lot of the times, hey, look, I don't need to take this ball 550 feet. I need to poke this ball over the infield. I need to poke this ball through the infield. I need to drop it in the gap. If I can hit it over the wall, that's great.
Yeah.
But and that's the thing is whenever DJ went out there with the mentality of that versus the mentality, because I remember there's one portion of the season he was just swinging for the fences every time. He was a night and day player. That's a transformation Hunter Hines needs to make on this end. Is that hey, look, I'm not going to be able to hit a homer every time I walk up to the plate. I would absolutely love for you to, but you're just not going to be able to. It's impossible in this league. It's impossible at any level of baseball to just hit as many just homers as you physically can.
Yeah,
I get it.
If you look at DJ's stats, like I know we talked about his batted ball profile a little bit earlier. I mean, he slashed 354, 459, 671, 1129 as a sophomore. Yeah, he hit 20 homers. Dakota Jordan was incredible in right field. And I'm gonna take this back a little bit to Hunter Hines in 23. It was Alabama, Saturday night. I'm not kidding when I say that was one of the best baseball games of my life.
Oh, yeah.
This game was back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Hunter Hines hit a ball. Dudy Noble Field is a big field. Like, not necessarily in terms of dimensions of the field, but the stadium itself is big.
Oh, yeah.
It goes back a decent way. When I say he hit that ball 100 feet out of the park, like, I lost the ball. Like, it's middle of the night, the ball goes up and it's just there in the light. It went so high, I still don't know where it landed. I think it might have hit Lake Chadwick, which is like a mile past the stadium. Like,
dude, I'm telling you.
That was incredible, insane. But he tries to do that every swing. He tries to hit the ball 700 feet. Every time he's swinging and somebody's on base, he's like, this is a 2-run homer right now. I've got to drive this run in. Instead of doing, like we were talking with DJ Swing earlier, it's a little weird. Like, he just kind of poked the ball, but he was so strong, when he poked the ball, it'd be 90 miles an hour off the bat. Hunter Hines has that kind of strength. I don't expect him to swing like that. I expect him to be a senior and be disciplined at the plate, and he just hasn't been. That doesn't mean he can't be, but it's just another thing of we just got to see with this team.
And to kind of get a little bit back to it, let's talk about some of the transfers we got on in. We got a few big transfers in.
We did.
So first one I'm going to hear, Sawyer Reeves, transferred in from Citadel. Last year he batted 304, had an OBP of 377, slugged 445. Almost a 1-to-1 walk to K. So I mean, he's
10 stolen bases, like classic second baseman. Love it.
He's somebody that we're really looking forward to. He's going to fill that second base gap that
Amani
Monty Larry
Larry.
left quite well. He's
Mm-hmm.
going to be somebody a lot of
And
people looking forward
Mercy.
to. Yeah, Merce over there at shortstop, which that's where Dylan Cupp's going to fill on in.
Mm-hmm.
And then the final portion of the infield is going to be Ace Reese. That, in my opinion, is one of our biggest gets.
Yes. As a
Ace Reese,
sophomore, yeah,
I believe that he's what, a Big 12 freshman of the year, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so.
Yeah, so he transferred in from Houston, bringing up fantastic numbers. I mean, he's batting 278, 395 OBP. He's slugging 506. As a freshman to put up those kind of numbers in the Big 12, that's tremendous. He's going to be
Yeah.
such a tremendous upgrade over Logan Kohler. No disrespect to Logan Kohler, but
He
there were
was not
times
it.
last year he made me want to rip my hair out.
He was not it. Even on defense, he was not it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
It's one of those things of like, you could forgive his sins at the plate a little bit if he was a great defender, and it's just like,
yeah,
he transferred from where, Memphis?
Memphis, yep.
Yeah.
He's a Memphis guy.
Disappointing.
I will say this too, as far as the transfers go. Noah Sullivan is somebody who's kind of a little bit maybe flown under the radar and such. I think it'll be interesting to see. If for some reason I can't recall seeing this guy in any of the scrimmages that I went out to. But like I said, I only went out to for a few innings for each of them.
Yeah.
Maybe I just missed them and such.
Yeah.
But,
Also,
I mean,
we'd
last
never
year
know
at
if he's
USC
injured because of Lamonis.
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
If you don't know Mississippi State baseball, you don't know one of the most frustrating things ever is that you never actually know how long your players are going to be out or if they're going to be out at all. Because Chris Lamonis, who's our head coach, if you don't know, he will just never send out he doesn't put it out. And it's like, Chris, the other team knows if he's going to play or not. The only people you're hiding this from is your own fans. That's literally it. The other team, I guarantee you, they're researching hard enough. They know if this kid's going to play or not. They're probably going to look at it and go, this is what this injury looks like. Even if they don't have someone that they can just go talk to and be like, hey, what about this guy? You're literally just pissing your own fans off.
A similar case with Pico Khan.
Oh my gosh. We thought he would play for like 3 straight seasons. He's pitched 9 games.
Yeah, he all of a sudden he had a Tommy John thing from there, and no one heard from him. No one knew where he was, and all of a sudden after the season, said he had Tommy John. I mean, it's just one of those things. So who knows?
It's Tommy John. He's out for the season. Why? Like, I understand. Maybe it was Pico's choice to be like, hey, I don't want to put all my medical stuff out there. I get that, but I because of Lamonis' history with injuries, I don't think it was. It's like, why, dude? Come on. All my frustration about state baseball is coming out.
Another thing is too. I think a big part of Noah Sullivan's game here. Look at his walks to strikeouts. He actually has 37 walks to 31 strikeouts. So that makes 2 guys in our lineup who have the ability to draw a ton of walks. So Bryce Chance, he has 26 walks to 18 strikeouts. That's 2 guys in this lineup that are going to be super difficult outs just off the fact of their plate discipline, just off that. Like, for instance, Bryce Chance, his numbers they're pretty good. They're not going to pop off the page. One of Bryce Chance's greatest strengths in my book is his ability to have the number of pitches in his at-bat be elevated. So we're not talking about a guy who's going to go down in 2 or 3 pitches. That's not Bryce Chance's game. Bryce Chance's game is to go up there and say, you may get me out. It's going to take you 6, 7, 8, 9 pitches. And that was a routine at bat for him. And that is somebody who doesn't show up on the stat sheet. That's not something that really shows up, but that is something that is tremendous value. If you can have this guy go at maybe any part of the lineup and just say, hey, go out there and wear that pitcher down. Make sure instead of double up the amount of pitches it should take to get you out. That's fantastic. That's tremendous value. That's something that I can overlook a lot of things for. So to know that we have 2 guys with this level of potential that's tremendous. I'm very interested to see what they're going to do with either Bryce Chance or Noah Sullivan as far as relative. Hunter Hines, I say he's probably a solid spot to bat 4 in the lineup.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if they don't put one of these guys directly in front of them.
Yeah, no, I mean that's entirely possible. There's no other like super experienced bats
on base. Yeah. Like Noah Sullivan, he has a 453 on base percentage. I mean, this guy gets on base. So I think he would be a fantastic addition. That if he can replicate those kind of numbers, to put him directly in front of Hunter Hines to make some sort of threat.
Yeah. So a theme for state last season was we sucked pretty bad at the start of the year, and then as conference play happened, we actually got pretty good, and we made a regional. if you look at Bryce Chance's overall numbers, 98 WRC plus, like he looks a little below average. He doesn't look great. You look at him in, I'm going to say this with conviction, in the best conference in college baseball. 333, 387, 509, 896 OPS, 111 WRC plus. Strikeout to walk ratio 0.77. He only struck out 5% of the time. Also, going back to what Luke was saying about him working at bats, he only walked 7% of the time. This is a guy that will go out there. He's a bad ball hitter. If you put it outside the zone, he's either going to foul it off or he's going to poke it somewhere. And it's so fun to watch. Like, 4 homers, a triple, 5 doubles. Like, yeah, this dude is good. This is a good player. And like I said, he's going out there against the best competition in college baseball and putting up above average numbers, even when the rest of his season wasn't necessarily as good.
Mm-hmm.
I think Bryce Chance, like, he can go out there and he's going to play so hard. Like, you might look at him, oh, he's like 5'10", something. He's like not a huge guy, not like a big power guy. I want him in my lineup. I love Bryce Chance.
Oh,
and when he gets a hold of a ball, if you give him a pitch to hit, if he can get a hold of it, it's going to go. Like, he's got the power.
I have a good story about this, actually. Mm-hmm. So I took a few classes with a lot of the baseball guys and such. Bryce Chance walked in with a lot of the other guys. I recognized them. I didn't immediately, because he was a freshman at the time or something. Yep. I didn't immediately recognize him. He walked in. I thought he was a player manager. I mean, this guy, he literally doesn't look like he's a ball player. He's not going to tower over you and such. I mean, I was like, oh, this guy, he's like 5'10", and I know this is ironic coming from me, but 100 pounds soaking wet. But all of a sudden, I remember him seeing it's like the first game of the season. I was like,
he's out there playing
right next to me. I was like, yeah, he literally sat two seats down from me, and I was like, this dude, he just cranked it like 400 feet to the left field. I was like, oh my god! So he's been on the radar ever since. He's a solid addition to this lineup. He's not a guy that's going to get national attention, but he's a guy you have to watch. You have to game plan around him.
Yeah, no, like he's just we joke, the lunch pail guy, first in, last out. Like I don't know how practice goes. Lamonis again. I'm gonna probably say a lot about it all year when we talk about state anytime. Lamonis, we won a College World Series with him, and then but
no.
I don't. Okay, I'm gonna say this right now. I do not know how to feel about Chris Lamonis. With the turnaround we had last year, he earned himself some time in my book. There's things he does that I don't like. Whatever. Moving on. Bryce Chance strikes me as the kind of person that can have a big leap, even though he doesn't necessarily have the physical tools of a Dakota Jordan or a Hunter Hines. He's a good athlete, and he can. I feel like he's the kind of worker that could really not have a massive jump necessarily, not slug like 1200 or not slug 1200, OPS 1200. He ain't slugging 1200, but I like Bryce Chance. He's a fun player, and I'm pretty high on him. And he's one of the most experienced people in our lineup.
Oh, for sure.
He's seen a ton of SEC ball.
Yeah, I think we pretty much obviously we got to start wrapping this one up pretty soon from there.
Yeah, we've got to get to 2 more teams somehow.
Yeah, so we have to get 2 more teams in here. And what time are we on to recording?
Hour 40.
Okay, yeah. So
yeah, we got to get it moving a little bit.
Like we said, that was a lot more, I guess, unstructured as opposed to the other ones. That was much more of our feelings, just because we're familiar with it. Basically, the synopsis for them, I think this is a better balanced lineup. I don't think this is a lineup that's going to hit a ton of home runs. That was kind of what we were last year. We were towards the bottom of the league in home runs. It always going to come down to pitching staff. I think we have the pitching talent to make something happen. The pitching experience is the biggest question. It's going to be an up and down. There might be some hiccups in the rotation, just given the fact that these are guys who haven't played before.
Yep.
Plain and simple. So that's kind of the gist for Mississippi State. Let me put it: the sky's the ceiling for them. The floor is
the floor. Yeah, the floor is down there.
This team could be as good or as bad as it wants to be.
Yep.
The fans at Starkville want it.
Yeah. Also, for those of you that have not been to a college baseball game at Dudy Noble Field, at Polkdement Stadium, it is genuinely one of the best sports experiences you can have. Like, especially on a big game. We're talking 14,000, 15,000 people.
We averaged that last.
Do we actually average that?
Yeah. So
Look at that.
it's
It's
insane. It's
you look at
I
like the capacity of a lot of these others, like other schools stadiums, and you're talking like less than 5,000 most of the time. I think the only program with a stadium that is even the same size is LSU, and
Oklahoma State is a pretty
Oklahoma
decent
State
size one.
Stadium. Actually, yeah, I have theirs pulled up. I can get to it in a minute, but so I'm actually talking about them next. But yeah, no, like the atmosphere in Starkville is electric, and I think I say this as a fan that wants to feel like he has an impact on the game, but like I feel like the atmosphere in Starkville makes things happen, and like it can be Alabama beating Alabama in the 10th inning magical. Like Cam Sholke, a dude who, as much as I love Cam Sholke, he had no business doing that to Charlie Condon with a 76-mile-an-hour like rising slider.
Mm,
He had no business doing that to him, and he did. Like things just happen, and the fans are going to show up no matter what. Like that's when I try to talk shit about LSU at all, they want to go, oh well, we had all these teams come out. Yeah, you have one of the best teams in college baseball. We averaged your average attendance when we were the worst team in the SEC.
mm.
Like the fans in Starkville will show up pretty much no matter what, and
It,
it's fun. It's so much fun.
it's a magical place,
It
truthfully,
is a
from the bottom of my heart.
truly
I
magical
say this
place.
as somebody who actually coming into college hated baseball. I made fun of
Oh,
Logan
I
freshman year
dude, I meant to bring that
for
up.
watching baseball. I absolutely hated it. I didn't like it. I went to the dude, and I'm now doing a college baseball podcast.
Yeah.
It truly is that magical of a place. Some of my favorite, if not my favorite memories in college happened at the dude.
Oh yeah.
That was some of the most fun I ever had. If you haven't, in fact, they're even planning some stadium expansions. So
Yes.
not only is it the best stadium in the country by a country mile, it's about to get even better.
Yep.
So
Zach
this
Selman.
is a great time to, if you guys get on in there,
Yeah. And
come out
tickets
to
aren't
a
crazy.
game. Yeah, you're gonna have to stand because
Oh
it's
yeah.
lit. I used to work at a ticket office. I understand how long that wait list is. I'm not kidding when I say this. Most other college baseball stadiums, you can walk in for free.
Yep.
This one, to get a seat for a season ticket, the wait list is 10 plus years long with significant donations each year.
Yep.
And I know I say this as somebody who genuinely used to add people to that list. I used to help people get to it. So those tickets do not get found. Those
No.
tickets, those are like the Green Bay Packers tickets of college baseball.
Yeah.
And that plain and simple.
Oh yeah.
If you have not made it up to a Mississippi State baseball game, make it out. Plain and simple.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's move on over to Oklahoma State.
I had some point to make and I already forgot. Oh, I was gonna talk my shit a little bit about getting you into baseball. Um, we've been friends since freshman year of college. That's when we met. I got infinite shit from Luke Meyer about watching. Like I'm a massive baseball fan. I played baseball my whole life. Like I love the Braves. I'm so thankful to have grown up in Atlanta where I can like be a fan of one of the best organizations in the major leagues. But I got so much shit. Like, why do you even watch baseball? They just stand around 90% of the time. All that. We went to games at the dude, and it took convincing to get him to go because I knew we were like,
Well, I actually had to work there.
yeah,
That
that's
was
true. He had to
yeah. I
go
worked.
get paid to be there to
Yeah.
understand how fun baseball is, and then eventually he had to quit his job so he could actually enjoy the games. But then in 21 when we won that World Series, the College World Series, the Braves also won the World Series, and it was incredible. But like I just remember getting Luke into baseball is one of my great triumphs in life. Because I mean, you could tell this guy loves ball, and it's great. Either way, I'm gonna stop talking about that. I'm gonna talk about
Yeah.
Oklahoma State.
I gotta go to bed soon, man.
Yeah, for real. Actually, I do too as well. I gotta get up in the
Yeah.
morning, but
So we'll breeze through the next few
we'll try.
teams.
I'm gonna try to be a little quicker than usual. So Oklahoma State last year, 42-19. They were 19-9, which is good enough for second in the Big 12. If I go over here, oh my goodness, I'm already being slow. Their coach Josh Holliday is 445, 236 and 2 in 12 seasons. They've been to 49 regionals, 11 in a row. Last year they went 2-2. They beat Niagara in their first game They hosted, by the way, they hosted the Stillwater Regional. And if I can get it right here, yep, there it is. They hosted, and they went 1-2 against the University of Florida. They beat them in the first game. Florida beat Nebraska. This is the regional we were talking about when we were talking about Nebraska. Florida beat Nebraska, then beat Oklahoma State in 2 games, swept them. GG, Oklahoma State, you're out of the tournament. And then in the Big 12 tourney, they actually won. They were the 2 seed. They played a ton more games than, I say a ton more, 2 more games than 1 seed Oklahoma, who swept their way to the championship. Oklahoma State beat Texas Tech, beat UCF, I believe. Oh, no, lost to UCF, sorry. Beat Texas Tech again, beat UCF. And then in the weird thing about college baseball tournaments, a lot of them are double elimination until the championship, which, come on, I feel like it should be like a 3-game series at least. Because Oklahoma swept their way there and then lost in a game and it was over. Whereas Oklahoma State got a chance. Whatever, they won. Huge postseason for them there, at least in conference play, not in NCAA play. I'm actually going to save that guy for a minute. Gabe Davis, their closing pitcher, who pitched actually 5 starts last year. He's projected to be their closer. He's pretty dang good. He played with the collegiate national team. Ben Abelt was there. I had that up somewhere. I'm not going to bother pulling it up. But Ben Abelt.
Probably Tyler Sumner there, yeah.
Yeah.
From Santa Barbara.
Bremner. Yeah, Bremner. That's the other guy.
Yeah, Bremner, that's what it was.
Yeah. But they pitched together on the collegiate national team. He went 3 perfect innings. Don't know who they were playing against. But, hey, that's pretty impressive. Go out there and pitch. Actually, more than Bremner did. He's also 6'9". Yeah.
6'9". Their
6'9".
closer is, yeah?
6'9".
Oh, man, that's where you get to the point that release point is so much closer to the plate as it's like the Randy Johnson situation.
Oh, yeah, he's huge, dude. As a closer, as a reliever last year, he pitched in 18 games, like I said, 5 starts, 45 and a third innings, 217 batting average against, struck out 26% of the batters he faced, walked about 12%. Not crazy. He left 78.6% of them on base. So like we were saying, that gets into the mentality of the pitcher. He doesn't let people get around the bases very easily. A lot of these guys we're going to talk about, these pitchers, are going to be very good at that. 1.35 whip. His Sierra likes him more than his ERA. 3.61 Sierra, 4.17 ERA. So that projects well. But this is a dude, D1 Baseball has him projected as their closer because of the state of the rest of their starters. He might move up a little bit. You might see him starting some games. We'll have to see about that, but he took a pretty big step forward from his freshman to his sophomore year. Went from a 7.92 ERA in 25 innings to a 4.17 in 45 and a third. Like I said, 3 saves. Like, this is a very talented dude. And Oklahoma State is a very talented team. But then we're going to talk about third baseman Aiden Miola. He DH'd last year. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, just one thing to hit on here. I was looking at Baseball America. Baseball America actually projects Gabe Davis to be their Saturday guy.
Yeah. So like I was saying, he could probably
really
go out there and
like you said, to your point, like he could really go anywhere in this rotation.
Yep.
Listen, last year he started a few games, so, I mean, he could go anywhere.
Yeah, and I mean, it's great to have that kind of talent up and down your bullpen, and that you can just throw in there potentially to be a Saturday, Sunday starter and be pretty dang good. The reason D1 Baseball, I think, has him as a closer is because they have Ethan Lund, freshman who I'm going to talk about a little bit in a minute, being their Saturday guy, and then a transfer who I'm going to talk about in a minute being their Sunday guy. I'm actually pretty impressed with that transfer. I'll get to him in a second. But yeah, Gabe Davis could really come in as a junior and just pitch anywhere for them and be good. So, Aiden Miola, third baseman. As a junior last year, he actually DH'd more. I had his actual positional stats up here. He played 6 games at first, 14 at second, 9 at third. He projects into third for them. because of Avery Ortiz probably likely playing second, and Colin Brueggemann, who I'm actually not going to talk about much, but they have guys that can play his other positions. They don't really have another third baseman, so he's going to go out there and play third, and he seems like a very versatile glove and arm to me. Slow down a little bit here because I feel like I'm talking very fast, but 133 WRC plus in how many plate appearances? 190. So not the most, but plenty. This dude is pretty dang good. Like, he strikes out 22% of the time. That's down from last year. Walks are way up 11%. If he can continue because he didn't get much experience his first 2 years, only about 113 ABs or played, ABs, and then like 150 plate appearances between his first 2 years. He ended up doing more than that last year. As he gets more experience, I would expect him to be pretty good. I'm actually curious about his conference numbers. Yeah, his conference numbers are pretty good. Walks are down a little bit. Strikeouts are a little bit up. That's what you'd expect. But you look at his batted ball profile. Does not hit too many ground balls, 39%. Line drive 17, fly balls 43. He also does not pop the ball up ever, 2.5%. I love that. Again, pop-ups are useless. Don't do them. Easy for me to say. But he hits a homer on 19% of his fly balls. So the dude has decent pop. How many homers did he hit last year? 10. He just projects well. I'm going to be quite honest. I'm trying to get through these guys because there's a guy I want to spend a little bit of time on. Mm-hmm. And you definitely saw his numbers. Nolan Schubart. 370 batting average. 513 on base percentage. 838 slugging. Good for a 1351 OPS. 10 doubles. 23 homers.
Yeah.
This dude.
Yeah. That's all you can say is just yes.
Yeah. The one of the craziest things. His WRC plus was 194.
I was about to ask. I was like,
yeah,
there's just no way it's
194. You're taking
incomprehensible.
Yeah, you're taking the combined goodness of two average players and putting them together, and you get Nolan Schubart in one guy, and it's just he does strike out 27% of the time. He also walks 22% of the time.
That's exactly about to say, yeah.
When I was talking about I had a 3 true outcomes guy, this is it. He either hit. Okay, yeah, hold up. I did miss this, or did I miss it? And I just forgot about it. And it just made me stop. 54% of his hits are fly balls. 37.7% of those fly balls are homers.
Oh my gosh, that's insane! It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Nearly half the time, he's actually not putting the ball in play. He's either striking out or walking. Then the other half of the time, well, half of that, when he does put the ball in play, it's a fly ball, and 37% of that time, it's a homer. Then another chunk of that is 24% of his hits are line drives. Sorry, I have a hair. Oh my goodness. But like you talk about pop and just the ability to hit the ball incredibly hard and put it where you want it. This kid has it.
Are you eating mid-podcast?
No, I'm trying to get a hair out of my mouth.
No, I'm kidding.
I'm really trying to get this hair out of my mouth. It's bugging me. But
yeah. Gosh, so look right into the camera while you do that.
I'm trying not to. Gosh, I really want to talk about this guy, and it's distracting me. The biggest thing about Schubart is he's not super not the biggest thing, but one of the things about him is he's not super impressive in the field. The dude is an incredible bat. If they have someone that they could put in the field besides him and not lose something at DH, I would expect him to move over. Dude, this bat.
30% line drives per ball. That
24, but still.
Oh, sorry, I'm looking at conference play.
Oh, well, shoot. I meant to look. Yeah,
Yeah,
conference play is, yeah, it's stupid numbers. And
it's
like
still
most of the
insane
line, like
numbers.
the raise in line drives was just dropped from fly balls. Like he
Mhm.
didn't hit the ball on the ground anymore. He just hit it flatter. It's like,
Yeah, he still has a 34.8 home run to fly ball
yeah,
percentage. So it's not like he lost any power in his bat. I mean, this guy's just
no, it's
killing it.
absolutely stupid what this kid can do with the bat. I would really expect him to be gone next year. But
Oh yeah.
dude, you have this kind of bat, you know, I don't know why they project him to bat sixth. I would assume he's gonna bat cleanup at the very least. Like this dude's just incredible. Moving on to transfers, we're gonna start with a dude from Hawaii. Actually, I was surprised to see a Hawaii transfer in here, but Harrison Bodendorf, another interesting name. Also Nolan Schubart, like what? That's a great name too. Like I'm getting plenty of good baseball names here, but
Hmm.
Bodendorf. In 20 appearances last year, he started 11 games, got 2 saves, 56 and 2/3. Yet another guy that is like reliever, starter. What is he? He projects as their Friday starter. So clearly, scouts like him. Um, 75% of the time, he would leave people on base, striking out people 25% of the time. Whip of 1.4. So I think that's the better way to look at the reliever instead of looking at his 4.6 ERA. He did get a lot of people on, but when they got on, he didn't let them get around. He left them on base, left them stranded. And that's what you'd want. If you're going to let guys on, you don't want to let them get around. And 75% of the time, he wouldn't let them around.
Hmm.
But he does give up 9% of his fly balls for homers, which is a little high. Not
Yeah, it's a
crazy
little bit higher
high,
than you like.
but you'd like to see that come down a little bit. Um, I'm going to be real honest. I'm looking at it and going, there must be something I don't know about him for him to
Hmm.
be projected as a Friday starter. Will he take a jump and just be incredible as he moves into a bigger conference with more competition, with more expectations? I would think
I
maybe. And he's going to a really good team. I don't know much about Oklahoma State's pitching coach, but hey, maybe there's something I'm not seeing there. But I'm just not terribly impressed.
Yeah,
But his
I
numbers
agree.
aren't bad.
They're not bad. They don't jump off the page. You see, he might be a little bit of a victim to the reliever ERA effect.
Yeah,
Only 11 games started out, 20 appearances and such.
yeah.
But I mean, strictly from a numbers point of view, their Sunday guy who they have projected for it,
Oh wait,
he
let me talk
appears to.
about him.
Yeah, I was gonna say he appears to be. I didn't want to steal your thunder with that, but he appears to be a lot more
He appears to be
effective,
better.
just quiet on paper. I'm
Yeah.
actually what I'll do while you do that. I'll check on Baseball America and see if they have a similar projection
Okay.
to see because I want to. I actually have it pulled up right here.
Okay. Go
They
ahead.
are actually projecting, yeah,
Do you like our guy
for
Harrison?
let me double check if I can find. There we go. I have so many tabs open.
Oh my
You'll have
goodness,
to
yeah.
forgive me.
Mine are like
It's
they've actually my organization's worked decently well today. I'm proud of myself. But
it was great up until I started to go for your like this is just like a bunch of like old tabs now. So
oh yeah,
actually, Baseball America is this believer in Harrison. They have him as the Friday
hey,
guy, and they also have the Sunday guy as the Sunday guy.
hey,
So like you said,
we'll, we'll,
maybe
we'll
there's not
certainly
familiar with his
see.
game.
We will certainly see. Um, I'm gonna lead this off by saying anytime that you get to look up Greg Maddox's stats, it's really fun because you can just scroll through and just look at some incredible numbers. I am not saying Mario Pesce is Greg Maddox. I'm saying he elicits ground balls similar to Greg Maddox. 60% of the time, almost, he elicits ground balls. And it's not just a one season fluke. In
Hmm.
33 appearances between 2 years and 24 starts between those 2 years, 15 starts and 15 appearances last year for St. John's, 60% of the time, people are hitting the ball on the ground against him. Only 27% of the time last year did he allow a fly ball, 13% line drives, 9% of the fly balls went for homers, so that makes me think those are just missed pitches that just went right down the middle and didn't go where he wanted them. But he went from his freshman year a 6.65 ERA to a 2.96 and started 15
Mm-hmm.
games. 84% of the time, if somebody got on base against him, they stayed there.
Jeez.
84. That's like the Nebraska guys. That's
Yeah, yeah.
that stratosphere of left on base. Like that's incredible. Also,
It,
he only walks people 11% of the time, strikes them out 15% of the time. So he's not a big K guy, but he's a ground ball guy. And
yeah,
if
of
you can
course.
get a ground ball and somebody's on first, and you can get a soft ground ball to the shortstop, that's a double play all day.
And here's my thought on this too, is because usually ground ball pitchers, and for those of you who don't know, it's obviously because there's a few different styles of pitching. A lot of those are maybe strikeout heavy, so obviously those are guys usually a lot of fastballs and such like that. Usually those guys don't last too long in the games because they have to use a lot of stuff. They have to use a
Yep.
lot of juice, a lot of different stamina. It eats them up alive. What happens with ground ball pitchers is instead of taking at least three strikes, sometimes they can get it out in one or two
Yep.
pitches and such. So you can really see them getting on into games. Now, the reason I bring this up is because 15 appearances and he has 76 innings pitched. For five, that's about 5 innings
You'd
per.
expect him to go a little longer.
And my thought process on this is I don't necessarily think this may be a stamina thing. This may be a coaching philosophy at St. John's thing.
They're just
Is
yanking
that
him.
some pitchers? I mean, because to me, 5 innings, you're almost exactly at 5 innings.
Yeah.
To me, this almost seems more like a philosophical thing at St. John's. Like, hey, we don't want to let our starter go too long. And from
And like
there,
a third time
I
through
would
the lineup
expect
thing.
for, huh?
Third time through
Yeah,
the
yeah,
lineup.
yeah, yeah.
I guess
Third
I
time
should
through
talk
the
about that a
lineup.
little bit.
Yeah, go ahead and talk about it.
In baseball, it's a trend that really came to a head in the 21 ALCS when Blake Snell got pulled. Blake Snell, Cy Young winner, incredible. The Rays are a big stats team, and the stats say when a pitcher is facing a team for the third time in a game, so the third time he has to go through the lineup, statistically they are just worse in every category pretty much. It doesn't matter how good you are, you're just going to be a bit worse because they've seen you a ton more. Like, it makes sense. Like I said, it came to
You
a
can only
head.
trick somebody so many times.
Exactly. And that might be a thing for St. John's, but I really don't know. I bring up Maddox. Again, if you don't know who Greg Maddox is, you probably should. He's all-time great, one of the greatest pitchers of all time, one of the greatest pitchers in Braves history. He is the classic picture of a ground ball guy. If you can go 9 innings, if you can pitch a complete game in under 100 pitches, it's called a Maddox. He did it in under 90 pitches quite a few times because he would do what Luke said. You throw a ground ball, you throw a pitch for a ground ball, it gets rolled over on the first pitch. Hey, I don't have to throw minimum 2 more pitches to this guy to get him out. Soft contact, you get double plays. I love a ground ball pitcher if you can make it work. And you have to have a good defense behind you. Now, with how talented Oklahoma State is, I would assume they've got a pretty good defense. I don't know too much about it, but I like that kind of guy, especially if you just slot him in on Sundays and just let him say, hey, this could be the deciding game of a series, and if you have a guy with that kind of talent that looks, I'm pitching to a 2.96 ERA. Phipp and Sierra don't necessarily like him. Ground ball pitchers aren't necessarily liked by advanced stats in general. They love strikeouts. Even Sierra, I will say it. Even Luke loves Sierra, but Sierra does love strikeouts. But I don't know. That's an interesting guy that you can have pitching for you on Sundays. And like I said, Gabe Davis could come out there too, and it'll be a really interesting
I
rotation.
do have one question for you.
Go ahead.
You got Oklahoma State stats pulled up?
I actually do from last year. Why?
Can you take a look at Max Knight's Sierra? Am I reading that right?
Max Knight, Sierra. Oh, it's not on this page. Is it? Where is it? Here, 1 second. I'll look him up.
Perhaps I'm geeking me, boy. I mean, granted, he only pitched.
He's at Missouri State now.
Yeah. But are you looking
last
at stats
year-
from Oklahoma State last year?
Holy shit! He hit 2. He had a 228 WRC plus in 8 plate appearances.
Sierra.
Negative 2.38.
Dude, I was like,
Okay.
what?
He didn't even pitch an inning.
Yeah, no. It's totally whatever. But like, it's totally just
He broke
like
Sierra.
Yeah, he like, hey,
Yeah,
because I went to
it's
go
because
look, and it
he
just
was
tickled me
bad
when
in
I
like an
saw him
inning.
against
Okay,
zero.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it's
so
obviously
funny.
like what happens when you throw one pitch and it's a double, or
Yeah,
it's a bomb, or it's a single, and then he probably just got out of it.
yeah.
It tickled me. I saw negative 2.38 SIERA. I
What?
was like, "Hmm."
So the last three guys I want to talk about for Oklahoma State that I'm going to talk about for maybe 30 seconds apiece because they're freshmen. There's not too much out there, and I'm not paying for a perfect game. Um, is Ethan
If you would
Lund?
like to pay for perfect game for us, link in the script.
Please, that'd be great so we can look up prospects a little better. But Ethan Lund, lefty pitcher. There's very little information about him, even on perfect game. He was the 277th overall pitcher in the nation, the number 8 in the state, and he was top 30 in terms of lefties in the nation. Um, he apparently can throw an easy 90s fastball. He's got a solid breaking ball off that. Um, because he can throw in the 90s as a lefty, people were looking at him as a late round draft prospect. Oklahoma State picked him up. He could be. I would expect him to start in midweeks. I would not expect him to come out immediately in the weekends unless he's a bullpen guy, or unless he's crazy good. And I don't know much about him because I'm not paying for a perfect game. Brock Thompson, shortstop, another lefty. He's the number 230 overall fielding prospect in the nation. 39th in the state of California. Um, Literally, what they have on here from him is from 2020. So the dude was like, what, 14? Um, and he was throwing 74 miles an hour in the infield. Um,
Hmm.
from what I did read about him on the Oklahoma State stuff, he's not just a solid defender, sorry, elite defender. The bat, we'll see, but elite defender, solid prospect, not the 50th ranked shortstop prospect in the nation, so solid. We'll see. But the very interesting prospect for Oklahoma State is Garrett Shull. 47th best prospect in the nation. Oh, should also say, Perfect Game does have their little grades. It's a 1 through 10 scale. Um, Brock Thompson was an 8, which is a potential draft pick and or excellent college prospect. So pretty dang good. Garrett Shull was a 10. So the highest ranking they can give. Potential very high draft pick and or elite level college prospect. In the state of Oklahoma, he was the number 2 overall prospect. He was the number 47 overall prospect in the nation and the 8th best outfielder. He's a switch hitter. He's got a massive arm. His arm in 2023 from the outfield was hitting 90 miles an hour. He also was throwing an 85 mile an hour fastball. Cool. I don't think he's got to pitch much, but he also hit the ball in 21, hit the ball 95 miles an hour, and that was 4 years ago. And in the 2023 showcase stuff that I watched on him, this dude looks like an MLB player. Like, he's huge. And like 6'1", 205 doesn't sound crazy, but 205 of just muscle is kind of
At
crazy.
18 years old,
At,
6'1",
at
205 is pretty crazy.
yeah, 18, 19 years old, it's nuts. And he played on the Tigers scout team. He's played for the U.S. national team. This dude's an elite prospect. I would figure we're going to see a little bit of him unless they somehow redshirt him and decide he's going to hang around for another year. But he's a very interesting prospect. Now, part of the biggest story with Oklahoma State is the guys they lost. Most importantly, they lost Lane Forsythe.
Oh,
Which,
well,
for those of you
they're
who
anxious to
don't
transfer to Omaha.
know, Lane was our shortstop in 21 when we won the College World Series as a freshman. He was there for another couple of years. He transferred to Oklahoma State. He was actually pretty dang good. 287, 371 slugging, which is very Lane Forsythe like. When he hits, doesn't hit very far. He gets on base. That's just fine. Love you, Lane. But yeah, they lost Lane Forsythe. I was more memeing, but the guys they lost are their 3 best starting pitchers: Brian Holiday, Carson Benji, and Zach Erhard. Benji was a 2-way guy. He actually, in 304 plate appearances last year, his slash line was 335, 444, 665 for an 1109 OPS. He also happened to go out And in 18 games, 4 starts, 37 innings, he pitched to a 3.16 ERA and a 1 WHIP, and 44 strikeouts to 11 walks as a two-way player. Pretty good. Where did he get drafted? 19th overall to the Mets. Tough to replace that kind of talent. Zach Erhard, last year, he. Am I reading that right? Hold up. I thought this guy was a pitcher. I might have just completely blanked on myself. Where is it?
Well, Duncan's looking that up.
Yeah,
We
please.
can just safely say that he's a liar. He's
Um.
fibbing. He's making this up. It's a grand conspiracy.
Oh, Erhard's the bat they lost. Sam Garcia is the other pitcher they lost. But yeah, Erhard, very solid bat. 331, 458, 627 for a 1085 OPS. It's another guy they lost. Unless again I'm tripping. Nope, we're good. Sam Garcia for them pitched 89 innings, 3.64 ERA, 115 strikeouts, 1.079 WHIP, and Brian Holiday pitched 16 games, 113 innings, 128 strikeouts to just 19 walks to a .894 WHIP.
Mm.
They lost their three best starting pitchers, a two-way guy, and a really, really good bat. Like, this is a team that lost a lot of talent and is still a very talented team.
That sounds similar to State, honestly.
Somewhat, yeah. They have a little more experience, I would say, in the lineup. There's 3 seniors and 2 juniors, but then you got 2 sophomores and 2 freshmen. The pitching's the big question mark. They're not returning pitching really at all besides Gabe Davis. Which it was interesting looking him up because every time I typed in Gabe Davis, it'd be the Jags wide receiver now.
Yeah.
He's on the Jag. Yeah, he got paid by the Jags.
Yeah, he's on the Jags, yeah.
But yeah, they're an interesting team. They lost a lot of talent, and also they were really bad on the road last year compared to how good their record was. They were 12-10 on the road compared to 23-7 at home. So, hey, something to keep an eye on. Especially with a younger team, you would expect them to be better at home. With an experienced team like they were last year, you'd think they'd be a lot better on the road, but they were not. Don't know who all they played on the road in those 22 games, but we shall see. Yeah, Nolan Schubart is just incredible. I'm gonna have to watch a little bit of him, but it's big question marks again with pitching. Again, Mario Pesce is a guy I would like to watch, but it's question marks up and down the board for them pitching wise.
All right, is all you got for Oklahoma State?
Yes, I'm trying to keep it a little shorter now.
I will go ahead and I'll wrap it up on with Vandy here. All right, so a little bit about Vandy. Like I said, I'll keep this one fairly short and simple. My apologies to any Vandy fans that somehow wound up on this video. for both of the people watching.
Yeah, that happened to be Mississippi State fans.
Yeah, that are our close friends.
Yeah.
And Luke Blackburn. So
good shout out.
What happens is shout down.
For real.
So, anyways, Vanderbilt last year they finished 38-23, 13-17 in the SEC. Coach is still obviously the legend Tim Corbin, winner of 2 national titles and such. And in last year's postseason, they went 0-2 and lost in the regional. Let's just put it plain and simple. This is a weird spot for Vandy to be in these past few years. The last time that they really made it to a College World Series was 2021. If I'm not mistaken, it was 2021. They haven't made it back. This has been a pretty extensive drought for Vanderbilt standards, and I'll touch on the base a little bit on that for later. It's weird for them that they have to get it going like this, that all of a sudden now they're losing the regionals whenever for the past 10 years they've been one of the best programs in the country, hands down, bar none. And that's one of the big things that Tim Corbin decided. He said that, hey, look, we need some sort of shakeup here, or I guess some level of complacency and such. He actually went out and he got rid of some of his assistant coaches and hired in some new ones. He said, I think he wanted to energize a program, make sure that they're hungry and such. And hopefully they can get back going and get back to their winning ways. Because as everyone knows, Vanderbilt baseball is legit. As much as I hate the Whistler, as much as everyone hates the Whistler, this is a solid program top to bottom. And for the level of, I guess, funding the fan base and such like
Yeah.
that, they have great diehard fans, but they simply just don't have the I guess outreach that a lot of other ones like LSU or A&M's go. I mean, this isn't a school with 100,000 people. This is
No.
Vanderbilt University. So for them to do what they have done, given the entire circumstances of this, is it's very impressive. I don't anticipate this streak of losing at regionals to continue. I think especially that moving of assistant coaches really sent a message to the players, to I guess the alumni, saying, "Hey, look, that's not our standard. That losing in a regional, not even getting one postseason win, that's not our standard.
No, that's
That's not
unheard of for
acceptable."
Vandy.
Yeah,
Since
it,
Corbin's been there, that's crazy.
exactly. I mean, this guy, he's a winner through and through. His career record is 932 to 443 with one tie.
Oh,
Um,
he's not a winner
so
anymore. He
anyway,
tied.
yeah, big loser, believe me. So what happens is that I mean, this guy's a winner, plain and simple. So what I'm going to do here is I'll just kind of touch base on a few different key contributors that they have there. Uh, there's a little bit more obvious people to pick here, like for instance, the shortstop Jonathan Fast and RJ Austin. Those guys are known quantities. They're very, very talented players and such. I might hit on one or two other guys that are going to be maybe not as much talked about. First guy I want to talk to about here is JD Thompson. He was a starter pitcher right here last year. Pitched about 52 innings, had a 4.15 ERA. He's projected to be the Friday guy, according to D1 Baseball. He's a lefty, and
74
he didn't start
strikeouts
off.
to 18 walks.
Yeah, 74 strikeouts to 18 walks. I mean, he's doing pretty well on that end.
Yeah.
Last season, he didn't start off as a weekend starter. But by the end of the season, he was a pretty pivotal portion of their end rotation.
Yeah. It's getting late.
He's got a low to mid 90s fastball, but I think one of the best parts about him is 36% whiff rate. So
Ooh, on the
if you can
fastball?
use that as a primary pitcher, 36% whiff rate, that's fairly impressive.
Sheesh.
The other pitches he's got here, a changeup, curveball, slider. He's got and going back to what Duncan said, this guy just strikes people out. He doesn't walk a lot of people. He's a 4.13 strikeout to walk ratio. So for every time he throws a walk, he's throwing four strikeouts. So
Inning in the
inning in the
third.
third of work.
Love it.
It's just nasty stuff. It's absolutely nasty stuff. And you get a little bit more of his advanced stats from last year. What do we have here? So I believe I'm going to be referencing his conference numbers here,
Yeah.
especially just because
That's all that matters. SEC.
Yeah, exactly. For a lot of the bigger conferences, maybe not the Conference USA reference as much, but I kind of want to see what these guys do against higher level competition. So if maybe we have somebody's a little bit, obviously in the SEC or Big 12 or something like that, I want to look at that. So in that time period, about a 4 ERA, almost flat. He allowed his opponents were batting 254 against him. So nothing that's really gonna jump off the page for you there. But I mean, solid enough work, especially for somebody who didn't make it into the weekend rotation until towards the tail end of the season. So once again, reliever ERA effect.
Yeah.
One of the big things I want to point out to him is that not in conference play, outside of conference play, he had a 2.29 Sierra, which is very good.
Yeah.
So he has shown some flashes, some abilities to be able to get in there and really just, I don't know, just be an effective pitcher. It'll be interesting. Like I said, his conference numbers obviously take a dip from there. I believe his Sierra in conference is just a touch over 3, which is still very respectable Sierra. That's a very good Sierra. I'd be happy to have that.
Sure.
And as far as his profile and such, he kind of let up a lot of line drives in conference play. 23%. You need to get that number down if you're going to be an effective, especially a Friday guy in the SEC.
Yeah.
You need to get that
There's
down
too much
to
pop.
the teens.
You can't be giving up doubles down the line like that.
No, it's too much. That's the main thing is that Vanderbilt as a program, I believe in them enough to say, hey, look, these pitchers, we're going to develop the pitchers. I mean, it is Vanderbilt baseball. They're going to have pitchers, plain and simple. I think they've got guys up and down this rotation. I have no doubt in that whatsoever.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't think they're going to have any type of like Kumar Rockers or anybody like that
No.
or Jack Lighters sitting in there, but there's definitely a team that's going to have some guys, some arms. They just always do.
Yeah,
It's a lot like
it's
Santa Clara.
Vandy.
They just always have arms.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, yeah, you look at their projected rotation here. I mean, the only guy that cracked 50 innings was JD Thompson. I mean,
mm,
he's the only one that started double digit games. Like, it's another thing of experience. It's another team that's a talented team. They're just kind of reloading. I'm not gonna say rebuilding. I'm just reloading, because you never expect Vandy, especially nowadays, to be bad for it. And bad by Vandy standards is like 16th. Like, this is
exactly. Yeah.
like you'd expect them up in the top 5, top 10 easily, and you know, looking at their rotation, it's just like nothing blows me away, and you just look at it and go, well, it's Vandy, so something's gonna happen. They're
I'll
gonna
tell
make
you
something
this:
work.
Ethan McIlvain, if
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying that correctly,
McElvain.
McIlvain, McIlvain. Okay, so he is a guy that I want to keep an eye on
Mm-hmm.
because he is good numbers. So, for instance, just to read his basic stats off to you, 3.24 ERA in 25 innings last year. He appeared 11 times. He had a decent strike to walk ratio and such. The
About 2.
main thing is, I think this guy he could be slated to make a big jump, and not maybe not a big jump, but a jump into a very reliable weekend guy.
Hmm.
Because in the Cape Cod League, which is summer league where a lot of more elite ball players go
Yeah,
to,
that's
especially
legit.
Cape Cod, that's legit. He had a .77 ERA.
How many innings?
So I don't know. I couldn't see how many innings he
Here,
had
I can
for
pull it up.
the.
Keep talking. I'll pull it
Yeah,
up.
if you pull that because maybe I just saw that stat and it kind of blew me away. So maybe he's only under a handful of innings of work. But I
Find
just
out.
thought a .77 ERA against some of the best bats in the country. I mean, that to me was pretty good. He's going to be somebody I'm going to be very interested to going
3
forward.
games, 11
Just
and two
see
thirds.
11 and 2/3. Okay,
15
so
strikeouts to
obviously the
5
sample
walks.
size could be. What did you say?
15 strikeouts to 5 walks.
Yeah, the sample size could obviously be a lot larger from there, but
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
That's good competition up there.
it for sure is for sure. So he's a guy I want to keep an eye on. Obviously, it's Vanderbilt pitching. Any of these guys could break out at any given moment, and you would say, "Yep, that makes sense."
Yeah,
Um,
Vandy.
so yeah, another guy that I want to point out to you. So their projected third baseman is Brody Johnston. He's a freshman coming on in. Obviously, I don't have a ton of stats for him because it's high school and such, and everyone
You
looks
got to
great in
pay
high
for a
school.
perfect game, Luke.
Huh?
You
Oh,
got to pay
paper,
for a
yeah,
perfect
paper,
game.
perfect game, sponsorship by Perfect Game.
Please.
Um,
What do you say?
so I've seen it multiple places: D1 baseball, Baseball America, some of the bigger ones I've looked at, and I actually went on to now, depending on how large the fan base is, some forums are easier to find than others. Um,
Vandy.
I went on to Vanderbilt's baseball forum. They were really excited about this kid. These publications are saying that he might be one of the best freshmen in the country, might be SEC freshman of the year. In fact, I believe D1 or not D1, Baseball America is projecting him to win the SEC freshman of the year award. Uh, this kid is pretty good, and I think a lot of that excitement stems from his Appalachian League days. So
Mm-hmm.
he put up a 284 batting average, 351 on base, and 479 slugging. Like I said, I'm not sure over how many plate appearances and such, but I think that really got a lot of people excited for him. So, given the fact that these are against college arms, this isn't like just some high
Yeah.
school. These are against legit college arms and such, and this is a big upgrade on who they had over third base last year. Because if I'm not mistaken, over here at third, the guy who took the most plate appearances, Davis Diaz, he's batting 243 and on base of 331 and slugging
Mm-hmm.
391
That's
in
tough.
conference play.
That's tough for
Yeah,
Vandy.
he's just not going to blow you away. Yeah, he was a 78 WRC plus in conference. I mean, this has the potential to be a very significant upgrade at third base, which is obviously a very pivotal position.
Yeah, for sure.
I think this is a guy to watch for sure. He could turn into an absolute monster for this team, or even if he just has a solid season. I mean, I think that's what Vandy wants out of him. And I think
Yeah.
anything, especially given the who was there before, that they just need somebody to get in there and just hold down that hot corner.
Yeah, I
So
mean, you have a guy come in as a freshman. You want him to get as many plate appearances as possible, get him the experience, because you know that guy's probably going to be around for the next. I mean, if he's really good, he's only going to be around for like a year or two. But
yeah,
you know, he's going to be around for a minute, and you want to see that guy play, and especially if he has that kind of talent that they're talking about. Then hey, let him play.
for sure. And now the last guy I want to talk about here, and I'm not sure if I'm just not looking in the right places. I'm not sure if there's just something I don't know about this guy, but Jaden Davis at DH for them. He's a guy that I looked on D1 baseball in their breakdown. His name only appears one time, and that's in the projected lineup. I'm on Baseball America right now, and if I type in Jaden, I mean this guy's not even mentioned in this article. So maybe I'm just missing something.
He's a Samford
But
guy.
this he's from San.
Well, from
Uh,
year before, he
I was gonna
transferred in
say
from Samford.
I knew he transferred into last year to Vanderbilt.
From Samford.
Um,
There you go.
so this guy in conference. Let me just read off his in conference stuff. He had 347 batting average, 390 OBP, 493 slugging,
Oh,
884 OPS. Batting 347 in conference is very impressive for him.
yeah,
Overall in the season, I mean, those are all upgrades from his overall season numbers. So he
yeah.
just got better in conference play, and I think that's pretty much his stats across the board. He's
Real
a one.
quick, anyone
Yeah,
who's still watching the video at this point saw me react like I had seen something insane. I read his OPS as his slugging, and I was like, "Holy crap! This kid slugged 800 in SEC play." He did not. He was still good,
yeah.
but he did not slug 800 in SEC play.
I see.
We're good. We're good.
So yeah. So he struck out 9 or about 10% of the time, but he also walked 7% of the time. So he is a pretty solid ratio there. But actually,
For sure.
overall, he had a 111 WRC plus in conference play. He's a guy I really want to keep an eye on from there, just because he seems to have a really consistent bat. From what I've read, he's going to be moved over to the DH spot because apparently he just wasn't a great defender at second. I think they might just have some better options
The
there.
transfer I've been looking at him. The transfer from for second Mike Mancini.
Yeah, Mike.
He looks really good.
Yeah, his numbers look great.
Hmm.
So I think it's going to be best for him to move over into the DH spot.
Yeah.
I'm really interested just to see because it seems like his whole all of his numbers really just got better in conference play, and I wanted to see if that trend continues. Like I said, they have some better guys that I could have hit on, but this was just an interesting case for me.
Yeah.
He's not a home run guy. He had two
No.
home runs last year. I mean,
Yeah.
he's not hitting bombs or anything. He's just a solid DH that's going to get out there and play.
Yeah.
And in conference play, it really reflects it with his batting ball profile. 51.5% of his hits were ground balls. This guy's just smoking them through the infield, plain and simple. I mean, it's
Hey, simple
he
baseball.
almost never pops up. He pops up 2.9% of the time. He's a great contact guy. He's somebody that he's going to be a tough out. He's just I don't know. He's
Yeah.
somebody that even on the baseball like Vandy forums I was looking at, they just weren't talking about this guy, and he seems like just a very solid DH that I think anybody would really be pretty pumped to have.
Yeah.
In fact, yeah, like for instance, Baseball America is even projecting him to crack the lineup.
Damn.
I don't understand entirely how. I would be shocked to say the least, especially just given the fact of how well he elevated his game in conference play. Keep an eye on him. I'm not saying that he's going to be this breakout player of the year, but he's going to be somebody who's a really good contributor to this Vandy team. It's somebody that might get overlooked, but like I said, we got Mike Mancini to transfer on, and we got Jonathan Vast, and we got R.J. Austin. He might be somebody that falls through the cracks of this order, this order, but he's going to be a significant contributor. So that's kind of what I wanted to hit on him.
Yeah.
One of the last few things I have before we wrap up this podcast is last year they were second last in the SEC with 72 homers. This is not exactly a team that's just going to knock your socks off with the amount of homers they hit, and I'm not seeing much improvement on that, at least from here. I'm not saying that
Yeah.
they're going to hit 10 homers the entire year, but I'm just not seeing a lot of power in these bats. And not saying that you need to hit home runs for it. In fact, I'm kind of almost of a different opinion, but
Opposite,
that's
yeah.
neither here nor there.
Yeah,
Um,
I've been
I,
looking at Mancini for a minute now, just
mhm.
like staring at his stats. I mean, slash 329, 419, 586, 1006 OPS, 15 homers, 10 doubles, 29 stolen bases.
Mm-hmm.
So this
I
I
mean, yeah, and
yeah, 29 stolen bases, a 134 WRC plus. Like he he's got like a very nice batted ball profile. 41% ground balls, 20% line drives, 38% fly balls, 3% pop ups, 22% of his fly balls go for homers. I mean, this guy
and
looks pretty interesting.
I think too that's an interesting case is because Vanderbilt may not even necessarily need to hit a ton of home runs
Oh
because if you
yeah,
look at their stolen bases here, like for instance,
they're
their
super fast.
shortstop, he stole 12 bases last year. Their center fielder R.J. Alston, 27. Right fielder, 12. So just because these guys aren't hitting home runs doesn't mean that they're just hitting a few singles each inning stuff like that. It's like they may be doing that, but they're going to get into scoring position. They're
Yeah.
going to find a way, and I think. That's just kind of, it seems like Vanderbilt always has just some speedy players. I remember Enrique Bradfield.
Oh
That guy
my
was just that guy
goodness.
gave me nightmares playing in
I,
center.
I, I
That guy
remember my
was
family came
insane.
down to watch State play Vandy, and Bradfield had like this insane catch at the wall in like the second inning. Like he just ran the entire outfield. It felt like he just made a ridiculous catch at the wall, and I was like, yeah, that kid's really good. And then he like bunted on, and then stole second and stole third, and I was like, what is this? Like what are we talking about here?
Yeah.
This kid's nuts. But obviously he's not there anymore. But it seems like they still have plenty of speed with R.J. Austin taking over in center field.
hmm Oh, fun fact: do you want to give me a guess of who was last in the SEC in home runs for last year?
Mm. Oh shoot, it might have been State. Well, no, DJ hit 20, and Hunter hit like 16. So that's 36 right there. That's that. But we didn't have many other. Bryce hit like 10. Oh, East or West?
I'll be East.
Ooh, gosh, it's not Florida. It's not Tennessee. It's not Georgia. Oh, it might. Oh no. Am I tripping when Condon was there? No, he was there last year. So 37 homers right there. Gosh, it's like no South Carolina had a dude that was hitting a ton of homers, didn't he? Gosh, I'm blanking. East, like Kentucky.
Nope.
All right, I'm not. I'm not gonna sit here for another 10 minutes and make everybody wait while I guess.
Missouri with 57.
Ooh, dude, I was thinking East. I was like, what?
Yeah,
Mizzou
yeah.
is
Dude,
so.
I said that and I was like, that was so terribly
That
Missouri.
was that's unfortunate, but
Yeah,
52 all year in like 50
yeah.
games.
57 home runs that I'm looking at
Oh,
here, and then
57.
Vanderbilt
Okay.
was 72. It's like, and
Okay.
like it's just
Yeah.
the significant gap between
Yeah.
those.
Mizzou is not ranked.
Yeah, not to my knowledge. So, anyways, they
Nothing wrong with Mizzou, man.
Team Mizzou always gives us problems. I don't know what
I
it is.
know. It's crazy. In everything.
You know.
They beat the
So
shit out of us in basketball.
the last thing that I want to hit on here, I have a little bit of trivia for you, an additional piece.
Oh, yes. Trivia.
All
go.
right, here we go.
I'm going to get this wrong.
In the last 10 seasons, how many times has Vandy played in the College World Series finals, I believe? Yes, finals.
In the finals?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm on their page, but I'm not looking at the top.
Yeah.
I
the
know they've
finals.
been 5 times, like ever, to the College World Series. They've won twice. They lost. No, they didn't make the finals against us because it was Texas in the finals, right?
No, no, no.
It was Vandy?
No, it was Vanderbilt
It was
in
the
the
other way
finals.
around.
Texas was in the semis.
So 3. Is it every time that they've made it? Is it 5? Oh,
In the
dog.
last 10 years,
4
times.
times.
They have been 40% of the College World Series finals.
That's nuts.
And that's one of the things we talk about, the prestige, the pedigree of this program. This is a team that is not used to this, and Tim Corbin is sending a message by getting rid of these assistants. That there's just no other way around. This is a team that is I'm not saying they're going to be back or well, we're going back to the College World Series final. This is a team that's not satisfied with where they're at right now. It's in a
Mhm.
program that's not satisfied with where it's at right now. They are looking to get better. They don't care that they don't have 100,000 people. They don't care that their stadium doesn't sit 10,000 people, 15,000 people like the dude. They don't care. They're going to go out there. They're going to compete. They want to win. They're going to fight. This is a program that is just in a weird spot right now, and I don't expect for them to stay there. They
No.
have a lot of different guys. I trust that program to develop these players who may be a little bit more raw. This is going to be a fun team to watch.
Oh yeah, I'm totally with you there. Like Vandy, I'm okay. This speaks to how recently I started like actually watching college baseball. I didn't know they'd only been to 5 College World Series. I thought they were historic like Texas. Clearly not, but
I
it's
think Tim
crazy.
Corbin has just built this reputation. I mean, when you go to
Yeah.
40% of the College World Series finals in the
Hmm.
past 10 years, I mean, that's such a significant reputation.
Oh yeah,
That's
it's
something that,
insane.
yeah,
It's like all
I,
my buddies on the baseball team in like high school. They would they talk about we played a Vandy prospect. It's like that's a huge deal. Like to go out and play a guy
I mean, I
committed to
couldn't.
Vandy.
This streak extends back before I even had a driver's license.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like they have been that good for that long.
like 18 straight, or was it 18 straight? Did I read that right earlier?
I
Just
didn't
looking
take a
at it.
peek at that, but I was more just I saw that College World Series final that was
Yeah,
shocked on the
18
face.
straight. 18
Yeah,
straight regional appearances. That's
yeah.
the vast
They
majority
will
of my
find a way
life.
into the postseason. And I saw somebody summed it up, and I can't quite remember who it was, but they said if they make it to Omaha, they're
Oh
not staying for a short time.
no,
They plan to stay for
they
a
booked their
long time
tickets.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah, so if they make it to Omaha, if they find a way in, they're not going to be a one and done. They're sticking
no,
around.
yeah. If you look at the um bracket from the SEC tourney last year, um,
They ended
State
up beating us.
actually beat them. Oh no, we lost. Just
Yeah,
kidding. I
I think we lost
misread
three
that
two to
score.
them.
4-3.
4-3. Damn.
But they beat Florida. They beat Tennessee. Then they beat us. Then they lost to Tennessee, the eventual champs. Funny story. LSU was the 11th seed in the SEC tourney last year. That happened. I forgot LSU was not very good. Well,
I
not
just
very good.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, but
yeah. It goes
and
back to
Tennessee.
the standards for that program.
Oh my goodness, yeah. I mean, especially in recent history. I mean, you look at like
Mhm.
Skeens, Tommy Tanks, those kind of guys. Dylan Cruz. Like we'll talk. We'll talk plenty about LSU.
Well, we'll get there when we get there.
Yeah, LSU will be uh, the last episode of this preseason series. They're number 3
Hmm.
in D1 baseball. Actually, hey, SEC baby, we have 4 of the top 5. Virginia is the only one that is not top 5. Or is not SEC. We're
So
actually going to be talking about a lot about the ACC next episode. Clemson, Wake Forest, NC State, Duke, and then Oregon. So we're talking about the
mm,
Big Ten, not the Pac-12.
not the Pac-12. Uh, okay. Well, I think that's pretty much all we have here. Is there anything
Yep.
else you want to say?
Um, no. I will say, like and subscribe. We're YouTubers. We have to say that it's required of us.
YouTubers.
Yeah, in massive air quotes. If you have any questions about like any specific thoughts we have on anything, if you want to know about any stats that we put out there, if you have anything about it, put in the comments. Still getting the channel set up at this point. Also, I guess I should have addressed this like at the beginning. I have a new mic, so I should sound a little better than I did the first time. I don't have my headset mic going anymore, but yeah, if you have anything for us, just let us know in the comments. For those of you that we sent this to directly and we know are Mississippi State fans, yeah, we've got a lot to say that we could have talked about for like 3 hours. But the
Oh, for
podcast
sure.
is already 2 hours and 40 minutes long, and we need to go to bed.
Yeah,
But
I work tomorrow. I got to
yeah,
work this
same.
Friday.
I gotta go.
So yeah. So yeah, like you said, if there's anything that you think we can improve on or anything like that, just let us know
Yeah,
in the comments
absolutely.
below. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Have a good one.